Dun, 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 dun. Hey, it's me, guys. Welcome back to another. It's feline time. That's right. To another show and tell, another weekly stand up. I got to think of a better name to call these streams because weekly standout sounds lame. It sounds like it sounds like work. I mean, it is work, but work is like work's work. It's got to be more fun than that. So I don't know. You guys can help me come up with a better name for these. I got some cool stuff to show. I've been cooking some stuff. The chef has returned. Thank you. Yes. Hold on a sec. I'm missing one of my chat windows. Now I gotta remember because I have a lot of. I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube, and there's a lot more chatters on YouTube, and I accidentally sometimes neglect the Twitch chatters. I'm sorry. So I've got to make sure I keep an eye on that. Let me just make sure everything's there. So I'm gonna need my audio for this stream. So I'm pretty sure my desktop audio is routed in, but there's this weird issue because a few months ago I bought like a proper audio interface and like an actual microphone that isn't some like cheap USB mic, because my old videos would have this buzzing sound in the background. So that's not a thing anymore. But because I have this new audio device, for whatever reason, when I stream desktop audio through OBS, it's like really, really, really quiet unless I mute my desktop audio on my end, in which case then it comes out full volume on the stream. So I don't know. I have no idea why it's doing that, but you should be able to hear my desktop audio, but I will not be able to hear it. I'm streaming with Streamlabs OBS. That's what I'm doing. That's what all the pros. That's what XQC uses. So it must be good. It's the professional grade streaming tool of choice. It's basically OBS, but with a cool gamer aesthetic to it. Well, so let me get my desktop open. Ooh, StreamerBot has integrated into one chat. Does it now? Because the Streamlabs interface has a combined chat window, but it like misses every other message, and I can't resize the window to be big enough because it puts it on the side. And if I have my window in the corner over here, it like completely hides the window because the window's too small. So what's this thing you're talking about? Use OBS Studio, but if I use OBS Studio, then we don't get the cool stream sound alert. So when people subscribe or when they do the TTS or whatever, I don't know how to do that with normal OBS. I thought that was a Streamlabs only thing, and I think Streamlabs, it's got it so that the Streamlabs thing, that's the thing that's multi-streaming, which I can't do with normal OBS Studio. I do use normal OBS Studio just for my regular recordings, my offline stuff, but not my live things. How's the levels been going since the incident? They've been going slow. I've been having to I haven't been able to work on levels much lately because there's a time and place for it. There's a plan. So at the start of the year, I'll answer some questions before I get into it because you guys are. Oh, by the way, it looks like there's been a lot of activity on the channel lately. So I'll try to get to everything. So. What was the levels? So the thing with the levels, we'll open one of those up real quick, seeing as you asked about it. Yeah, this one. I think the last one I did was my trench broom recreation of the laboratory, and I just haven't. I've had other priorities to work on, and there's a certain order that it has to be done in, and I really want to get to the stage where I'm working on levels all the time, but I'm not ready for that phase. But that is a phase in the plan where it's like everything is in place, the systems are in place, everything is set up, all that's left is content. That's the stage I've been working towards for a while, and it turns out getting to that stage is complicated because there's been, if you've been seeing the previous devlogs, there's been a lot of setbacks in getting to that stage. What systems will we even need? What kind of levels are we going to need? So a lot of that ambiguity's gone now, and I know what kind of levels I want. But I'm still not an amazing level designer yet. I'm kind of a beginner when it comes to actual level design. And when I say level design, I mean level design, not just chucking in objects in Unreal. Everyone thinks that that's level design, but it's not. Level design is I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the rules are, but I think the thing that's so tricky about level design is that the rules change depending on the game. And this is something I heard Steve's, what's his name? I think his name was Steve Lee or something like that. It's some level artist on YouTube that worked at Naughty Dog or something. I can't remember if that's, I think his name's Steve Lee, I think. But he has some good videos on level design, and one of the things he talks about that's like so hard to learn with level design, especially if you just want to specialize in it for like as a portfolio thing, is that you can't really learn level design, the concept in general. It really changes depending on the game. So level design for Uncharted and The Last of Us are going to be very different from each other. So you can't just design levels in a vacuum. You have to design them for a game. So that's why, at least according to him, level designers have a tough time building a portfolio because they need to have a whole game there first to design levels for, which is why a lot of them resort to modding existing games, which is pretty smart. Now, I didn't grow up doing modding or any of that stuff, because I've never liked level design. Like, I just don't really, I'm not that interested in it. It wasn't until I started building this level that I started to get interested in it and realize that level design's actually kind of cool. But it's not that I'm just learning level design, I'm learning level design for Project Feline, which no one has ever made a level for Project Feline before. That's, like, good. So it's like Uncharted territory, but, you know, there are rules that probably come in from other games that you could use. But I gotta decide for my game, well, what are the rules for, what makes a good level for Project Feline? Not necessarily what makes a good level for Doom or something like that. So that's kind of where I think a lot of, I'd imagine a lot of developers get stuck on that sort of thing, because I see all the time, it's even with, you know, people that love movement mechanics and character stuff like me, you know, they might be inclined, because I've seen people do this, they get really obsessed with that stuff, and they'll go make like a Mario or Sonic fan game, and it's just like a scene, a grid scene with a really cool character controller. Like that, I totally understand, I get that. But you'll notice with a lot of those projects, they kind of stop after that point, where they have the cool character controller and the Hedgehog engine, whatever. They got their own version of that going, and they have the springs and the enemies, but they have no levels. And when they try doing levels, they're usually very disorganized and like too open and too easy to get lost in. And, you know, I think people give it a pass in that community because it's a fan game and the standards aren't that high. Like, and I don't mean that as a slight. It's just like when you have a hobbyist, you expect differently than you would from a game you would buy. So they can get away with level design that isn't amazing because people aren't buying the game, so that's fine. But in my case, it's different. I have different standards I gotta uphold to, which is tricky. So there's a lot there. So with this first level I did with the lab, this was me sort of figuring out what the procedure would likely be. And that's cleared up a lot of ambiguity. Like, oh, like this is, I could build it this way, okay. But now it's like, to actually go and build everything else, there's a few more things I need. I don't know if the audio's working, by the way. Is it? Hopefully. I'm just testing it. You guys should be able to hear the audio, right? Because that's kind of what I've been working more on lately. So with all the level design stuff, like, because to make a campaign's worth of content is expensive, and I don't have a lot of funding left, so I've been trying to look for just thinking of like, how the hell am I gonna like, because it's, I know it'll take longer than I think. So it's like, okay, I gotta get more funds together somehow, so that I can spend a good year or so building out some levels and testing them. Because that's the thing, is that I could go and build them all at once, but they would suck still, probably. So there needs to be a procedure, a loop, where it's like you start one, you prototype a block out, you test it out, get feedback, improve it, test it out, improve it. There's going to be a bit of a loop. I know that that's going to have to be part of the process somewhere. But yeah, that requires intense focus and time, and I just don't have the means for that yet. But the main thing for now is, can I at least get one level and a demo that looks good? And then maybe that problem, you know, might be easier to solve. So I've been kind of focused on more polish and effects the last couple of weeks. So I've got all the particles for Gabi, and I've got these new audio effects now. Now I can't hear them because I've had to mute my desktop on my speakers so that you guys can hear it. But I've had a lot of fun this week I've done a bit of touch up to her particles so that the material's a bit better. I've consolidated and cleaned up the materials, and I've done a lot of research on optimizing particles and things like that. And then the audio too. I've got a lot of swishes and swooshes, and I love it. It's so satisfying. I love it. Hopefully it's not overdone though, that's the thing. I hope it's not too much. But I personally think it's really cool. Just hearing, like, it adds so much, like, personality to the game. I'll shut up for a bit so you guys can hear it. So I've got all these different sounds. I need a few more though. So there's some missing, like the skidding. But I've got all her jumps. And then for her flips, I've got special sounds for her flips too. Which those are my favorite. And I don't know, man, it's just cool. Like, I love just this move where she jumps off a wall and you hear, every time you do it, you hear these cool sounds. And it's just like, oh man, it's awesome. It feels agile as hell, man. So, I don't know. I reckon it's good because it makes me smile when I hear it. And it's like, okay, I think this is good. You know, I try not to be... I try to keep a good middle ground between being too easy and too hard on myself, but I'm pretty happy with these, I reckon. But yeah, there's a few missing ones. I need some better footsteps, I think. And also there's only one footstep sound, so if you run on a different material, if you run on like concrete or wood or whatever, it'll just play the metal footstep sound. So I'm sure there's a way to do something, maybe in the animation blueprint, where it checks the material and you can change the sound. I don't know, I'm guessing it'll work something like that, but I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. But it's mostly been, a lot of the work this week has been on the game, because that hasn't all I've been doing. Part of it has just been like the audio, the particles. I don't know if I still have the tab open of like the research I was doing on particles. Because particles are kind of weird, as it turns out. Like, I got a lot of the fundamentals and everything down last week with the clouds and the splashes. But then I found this really funny problem, because I play the game on medium. Now, don't laugh, okay? I know that you're supposed to play it on very high ultra. I know that the PC gaming master race loves their very high. But I like to play on medium, okay? I don't know. I like medium. I'm a medium guy, okay? How do you like your game? The chef tells me. I say I like it medium. But when you go to very high, I noticed a funny problem with the particles, where there are a lot more abundant in spawning. Like, it spawns more particles when you have the graphics turned up, and I didn't know this. So when I was making all my particles on medium, I set all the emitter values to be so that it would look cool, you know, just on medium, and then I didn't realize it would change it. And then if you go on low, it spawns a lot less particles. So you see with the slide, it like spawns less clouds. And I mean, I guess that's good, because I guess it's like less... It's more performant to spawn less of them. But it's just, you gotta think about it visually. Like, does it look good in all of those settings? Does it look acceptable, you know? Like, you don't want it to look completely ridiculous on ultra high, which is what it was looking like last week. Because when you slide down this on extra high, or very high, sorry, it was spawning way too many clouds before. So I fixed that a bit now, so it's a bit more manageable. But yeah, so that's a cool little thing I didn't know about. So yeah, always make sure to test the game on different quality levels. I'm gonna go back to medium for a second. There was another little change I totally forgot. I did this last week and I totally forgot to tell you guys about it. So I guess I'll bring up, because I have another topic I want to weave in here. Hey, how many viewers do we have in chat right now? Jesus, 300 viewers. No wonder their chat's so active. All right, well, hey guys, just a heads up. I usually don't get 300 viewers, so if I seem like I'm ignoring you, it's not personal. It's just I'm like going through progress, and there's a lot of you here, so I won't get to everybody. But I'm guessing a lot of you are probably here from my video. We'll go over that real quick, because this ties into this topic a little. Because also this week I finished up a video about the questions you guys ask me all the time. Because every time I stream stuff, I'll open my YouTube for a sec. So I made this video. Guys, Raymond here, and I've been and last week I was editing this, and I was trying to use DaVinci Resolve to edit it. And I'm sorry to say I've gone back to Adobe for the moment, guys. I'm sorry to let you down. It's just, I don't know, I couldn't get the hang of DaVinci. The way it likes to do things isn't the way I like to do things. And yes, I hate Adobe the company, and I hate the amount of money they charge, but the software is actually good, so I know how to use it faster than DaVinci. And I guess that's kind of the point of this video, ironically enough. The point of this video is kind of just to use what you're comfortable with, you know, the software that's right for you. And I guess when I was editing this video, I came to conflict with that question. And I guess the editing software for me is Premiere. But for some reason, I don't know why everyone like... See, because this maybe took a week. And usually for my devlogs, those will take like a month or more to do. And for the one video that's like a one-off thing that I didn't put much work into, this is the one that takes off. I don't know, YouTube algorithm's just funny like that. But thank you. Make sure you go watch my other videos too. They need views as well. And I am working on a video at the moment, which we'll get into a bit later in the stream. Is there a speed limit in the game? No, not yet. Although I have contemplated adding one. I probably should, because you can break it and go super fast. In fact, maybe I'll try doing that. We'll try glitching out the speed while I'm telling you about this next topic. So the topic of that video was why I use Unreal 4, and because I just like Unreal 4. It just works, okay? It just works. It all works perfectly, most of the time, anyway. So there is a trick in this game at the moment that you guys have found, where if you spam the slide, you can like gain infinite speed. So this is to add substantive evidence to that question. Is there a speed limit? No. Look how fast I'm going. Freaking 180 kilometers. 190. I wonder how... Maybe, I don't know. I actually haven't tried going this fast. But maybe that's... I don't know. Should I fix that? Should I? Or should I just leave it where you can just infinitely slide and attack and then you just get infinite speed? I don't know. Should I fix it? You guys tell me if I should fix that. It is kind of funny though, not gonna lie. Are you able to do a 180? Oh, you can if you do it smart. If you just try and turn around, you'll lose some speed. But if you double jump the opposite way, you'll lose a bit less speed. And if you use the attack and steer with the mouse, you won't lose any. It maintains all of it. And then if you try to do the skid, it'll give you all that momentum back when you go the other way. So yeah, there's been a bit of that. I did that all a while ago. I don't think I've had time to show it in my videos yet. But there's a lot of cool movement tech going on. I guess that what do they call it now? Schmovement. That's what you gamers call it. Schmovement. Yeah, I ain't seen any schmovement like this before. Okay, I don't want to enter a mission. But back on point. What were we talking about? The video. So yeah, a lot of people hate UE5. That's crazy. I don't know why everyone hates it so much. I mean, me personally, I'm just not interested in it. Like, I'm indifferent, but it looks like a lot of people really hate it. That's interesting. So there's that. That's pretty cool. But I put a disclaimer because, like, I try to be mindful of like the tech I use and like making it a good experience for the end customer. But I'm by no means, I'm not an expert on this. I try. But I'm definitely undereducated in the area of optimization. I think it's something that people are starting to care a lot about now, it looks like. And as a gamer, I do as well. You know, I really enjoy personally games from like 10 years ago that run pretty buttery smooth nowadays, that look really good and well directed. And I think I had a glance at the comments of that video, and it's like the Unreal 5 reputation is that it's all very badly optimized. And I think that's probably true in the most cases, but I don't think it's the engine's fault necessarily. I think it's just it's being misused. But, you know, I think Epic probably know how to use it properly, but most of us are not Epic. But in terms of, like, actual, like, high-performing games, I know that there's people out there that know way more than I do about it. As far as I'm concerned with my attitude to optimizing, I know that there's a bunch out there to learn about it, that I don't know of, like, best practices. I've just tried to be conscientious with my gut instincts on, like, what I should do and what I shouldn't do in my game. But I'm not an expert. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying my best. I'm not an industry lead guy. I haven't worked at Blizzard for 7 years or anything like that. I'm just a normal guy. And I'm not really even a programmer, really. So there are cases where I think, while gamers want the most optimized thing, you know, I think optimization is hard, otherwise everyone would do it. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm saying this because I think a lot of people have this impression that I'm going to have a perfectly optimized game, and I'm not promising that. I can't say that's going to be the case. I can say I'll try. That's what I'm trying to say. But I really don't know. Like, that's the thing with Unreal 4. I still have barely scratched the surface of Unreal 4, which is why I'm staying on it, because I know Unreal 5 has more. It has way more to it. And it's like, dude, I've used bits of Unreal 4, but I still don't really know what most of this does. Like, maybe I should take the time to, get familiar with the old thing, and then I'd have a, maybe in another project I can use Unreal 5 or something and have a greater appreciation for what it does. But I just wanted to say that because, like, I don't want people thinking I'm some messiah or something that's like gonna be an optimization god. I'm just trying my best. And he plans on adding microtransactions. Oh, I'm sorry, Headless. There aren't any plans to do that. I'm so sorry. I hope that... No, don't go. He's gone. No, he's running away. No, don't go play Marvel Rivals. Please go play my game, please. Okay, no. I mean, hell, if people want him, if everyone demands it, maybe I'll think about it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think my game would work with microtransactions. I don't think that's gonna happen. Try to use Unreal Insight. Cool, yeah. Yeah, if anyone has, like, resources on optimizing, I'm welcome to look those up in my own time. Because, again, I don't know that much. All I know is, at least for my environment, because I've explained this on stream before once, and maybe, if there's any AAA experts in chat or whatever, you can correct me on this. But in terms of my attitude to how I want to build my game, what I know is that a lot of the games I grew up playing were very simple graphically. Like, they would use they'd have, like, simple movement mechanics that were, like, cool. The materials were mostly, like, diffuse. They might have had rasterized lighting. That was, like, just a new thing. And sort of the way I'm thinking of it is, I know certain things. I know that simple materials run better. I know that baked lighting runs better. And I'm going with those assumptions, and I'm thinking if I just do that with my whole game, it'll probably run okay. But it's a big intuitive hunch, but I think it's true insofar as if I don't deviate from that, it should be okay. But I do acknowledge there's probably some weak points, and I think as some people might have, I don't know if anyone's pointed this out, but someone probably will, and that's, because, blueprints, I'm making my game with blueprints, right? And that's not the most optimized thing in the world. However, to learn the C++ way, I don't know a lot about programming in terms of, like, the heavy technicals, but I know that it's, like, a whole world and universe of things, and you have to kind of know what you're doing there. And again, I'm really more of an artist. Like, I might not be able to code C++, but I can make this model, which most programmers can't do. So there's like a way I want to do it that it's probably, I'm not saying everyone should do this, but my specific strengths and weaknesses is that I don't know, I tend to care more about aesthetics than the technical stuff. But I also, there's a certain way of aesthetic. It doesn't mean I want to do, like, RTX or whatever, but there's a look I'm going for, and I want it to be kind of austere in that sense, where it's only got what it needs. But I want it to look really cool. And because I have to worry about all that, I don't necessarily have the focus to learn, like, all the C++ stuff, even though it would probably be more optimized. But the way I see it is, I know that blueprints get a bad rep, but I think if you use them properly, you can mitigate that. So for me, the way I think of it is, blueprints, they're not the most great thing in the world, but if you're not doing anything crazy with them, if you don't have, like, a million characters on screen, and you're not using tick ridiculously, and what else was there? There's that, and then if the rest of the game is sort of holding some of the weight, like if the textures are all kind of sub 1K, and if the lighting is all baked, and if the geometry is mostly occluded, like, this level is probably going to be the most optimized one because it's all hallways and it's occluding a lot of things. And I don't know, like, because again, I'm not an expert, but I have a sense that if I just stick to doing those, then the result should be, like, reasonable. It could be better, but at the same time, I'm not like a wizard. I'm a self-taught regular person, so I'm probably not going to be able to make it Doom 2016 level, but I'm also not John Romero, so maybe that's okay, right? So that's sort of the way I'm thinking of it. And I think the issue that a lot of people have just with the current state of like high fidelity UE5 stuff, I don't think it's the engine that's the problem. I think it's just there's a lot of, because the engine's free, you know, a lot of amateurs like myself will download it and they won't really think too critically about what they're doing, and they'll get kind of like amazed by the lumen lighting and the bloom and the motion blur. Like, I was charmed at first when I downloaded it, you know, I don't blame them, but it's like they don't go beyond that. And then they kind of, if you go look on itch or I don't know, any free game website or whatever, or even just Steam New and Trending or something, you'll probably see a lot of the time it's probably a solo dev or someone, and they've made the game in an accessible engine, but they haven't thought critically about like the novelty of the engine is still not worn off on them, so they leave all that stuff in without thinking if they need it or if it is holding the game back in some way. So I think there's a bit of that going on, which is really more on the developers, I think, than the engine itself. But the engine, because that's kind of just what happens, I think, when you make a mass appeal engine, is that you have to appeal to everyone. So there's that as well. So I just wanted to get some of those ideas out as well, because I know a lot of people it's funny to kind of bash UE5, and yeah, like I don't really care too much for it, but I think it can be used properly. Like, there's probably someone out there right now that's making a game with a similar style like this, that's like low poly or something and style, that's using UE5, and people probably don't even notice, and they're probably doing fine with it. So that's cool. It's just because I started with UE4, and there's all the, you know, when you upgrade it, there's all these issues and stuff. So that's, for me, if I'd started on 5, I would have used 5 or something. But because I started on 4, it's just, I'm going to stay with what I started with. Are you using level streaming? Technically, yes, but not in the PS5 kind of way. So the way that this works with this level is, and again, I've just gotten this method from Unreal's own tutorials, so, and it seems like a good way to do it. But the way I've got my levels done is that I've got a plugin I've installed called the loading screen system. And because by default, Unreal won't put loading screens in your game. It just won't do that. You have to like build your own thing. And I tried building my own thing once and it was a disaster. But I found a plugin that does it. And that uses level streaming. And it basically loads a persistent level, and then it like covers it up with UI and then streams in the different areas. And I'm using different, I've like separated my levels up into different streams. So I've got the lighting level, which just has like ambient lighting and fog and point lights and everything. And then I've got the meshing, which is on its own level, and that just only has geometry and collision. And then I've got audio, which you won't be able to see, but that just has all the music and any ambient audio. And then I've got the gameplay lever, which just has any gameplay objects that like are dynamic. So enemy spawns, doors, and then I've got the mission, which has mission-specific things like collectibles and the mission objective, the time limit, and the ranking and everything. So I've split them up into their own streams, and the loading screen system takes those and then just streams them in when you load the level. But there isn't anything going on where, you know, if you go past a certain door, it'll then stream in dynamically. Like, there's nothing like that really going on. It just all streams it in once. And, you know, that should be good enough, right? Like, I'm no like engineering expert or anything, but if the levels are like just reasonably, if the poly count isn't crazy, and if the materials are kept simple and the textures are kept small, and, you know, if all of those factors are true, and if I'm just streaming them all in once, I think it should be okay. Like, I don't see why it would have a problem. I mean, it might, I don't know, but I think it should be fine. You know, it's a lot better than using like 10 materials on everything and PBR, screen space, and all this other stuff. Like, I'm guessing that should be fine. Are you using loading screens at different LODs? I don't think LODs have loading screens, but I am using LODs. On not everything though, but on some things, yes. There's also just like another thing that Unreal just does by default, which is pretty cool, is that it will occlude visibility, which I guess helps too. Like, if I freeze the frame here, you can see that I can preview. Hold on, We'll pick a better spot. If I go into this corner and freeze the renderer, because I've got this whole hallway is grouped as one object, but if in the frame I'm only looking there, it's not going to render anything else. And this isn't like a spectacular, like this is a default feature, so you don't have to spam love hearts, guys. I didn't do any work to do that. It just does it by default. Stop giving me credit for that. But I mean, like every game does that. I don't know. But I guess that does help, I'm assuming. It's better than not having it, right? God, stop spamming love. Guys, I'm not a wizard, okay? The engine just does that, okay? You guys are funny. But, so there's that going on. And also the entire level, most of it at least, most of the geometry that you see here is using one material, a master material, and it's using instances to put different textures. And the material is literally the most simple thing in the whole planet. It's literally, I've zeroed out everything. No specular rough. I might change that later, though. I could add some stuff. I do want to try something with specular, but that'll come a bit later. And it's just using a texture. Like, that's it. It's not that complicated. Granted, if I did a bit more on those, it could look better and more anime-like. But at the moment, that's just what it is. And I reckon if it stays that simple, and if I don't use, like, roughness maps or anything, if it stays simple, it should be okay, is sort of what I'm thinking. He is the Messiah. I'm not the Messiah! Shut up! I'm just a guy. I'm just a little guy here. I'm just a... Look, I'm not like an industry pundit or anything. I'm just here in my room trying to make an anime cat girl game, okay? That's all it is. I kind of regret making that video now. Everyone's gonna think I'm an amazing wizard. Why do I have 800 viewers? Oh, this is stressful. Sorry guys, I'm caving under pressure. That's what the Messiah... No, shut up. Okay, no, but for real, can we just for a second... can we stop? No, I'm not Paul Atreides, okay? Can we stop this for a second? Calm down. You're making me blush. Look, I know the game looks cool, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying. You know, I'm trying my best. If that's cool, then that's awesome, but, like... I just don't like this thing people do on the internet where if you say something that, you know, the majority agrees with, you're considered the Messiah. I don't know. I'm just trying to do my best, but I'm not that good. If I was that good, I would have released more games by now. Let's be real. Guilty Gear is peak. Now that I agree. I think the real Messiah is Jonya Motomata, lead technical artist at Arc System Works, that made the techniques for those Guilty Gear characters. He is the Messiah, okay? I have nothing on him. That guy, now he knows what he's talking about. He's really cool. But that's not me. I'm trying to imitate him. I'm trying to follow his footsteps. Lisan Al-Gaib. No, I'm not the Lisan Al-Gaib. I'm not it. No, it's not me. I gotta grow my hair out a bit more first, and then maybe I'll consider taking that. The Messiah of Catgirl parkour games. Well, you know what? You might be right there, because as far as I know, there's only one. So, unless there's more, in which case I'm going to be in trouble if there's more than one of these. If this is some genre now. If this has become a genre, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to have a lot of competition. If you plan on actually using metal specular roughness, use a singular texture. Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. Now, I totally forgot about this, but someone sent me a write-up on Ni no Kuni, and I haven't had time to read it in depth yet. I don't know if I can find it real quick, but it was insightful, and I don't know, maybe you guys will because I'm not a graphics programmer, so I don't really understand what most of the lingo means, but I kind of roughly get the gist of it. But someone sent me this... I'll show you what it looks like. Someone sent me this link, and I haven't had time to read it through in detail. It's like a 20-minute long article. But these guys... Now, these look like the Messiah. Okay, it's not me. These guys look like they know what they're doing. And, now, I don't know what a depth... I don't know what this means. I don't know... I know what a shadow is. I don't know what a depth pre-pass is. I don't know what that means. But I'm sure if I took the time to read it, I'd get the gist of it. And I'm not saying I will be able to do this, but this is something that I've had sent to me that I want to look more into in terms of their materials. Because I think at the moment, my level is like it's more along to this level than the default Unreal stock settings, but it still looks a bit rough. You know what I mean? Like, I know that it could look a bit better. So these guys, though, they have... I don't know. I didn't know this game had motion blur. That's interesting. But they... And the bloom... I've got my own bloom thing going on that's similar to this. But I can tell that they're doing something with the textures and the materials. I can tell that there's something going on. And this... they then go about UI and stuff, I think. But I can tell that they're doing something with shadows and things like that. They're doing some trickery to make it look really cool and handcrafted. Now, I don't know the technicals, but I know the principle. And that's as far as my knowledge goes, is that I don't know all the terminology, but I know that in principle, what's happening here is that this is, deliberate, the artist intent way, where nothing is really... It's taking control away from the computer and giving it to the artist to control everything. That's kind of how you get this look. And I think with my thing, it's not as good as this, but I'm also not the studio that made Ni no Kuni. I'm not as good as them, obviously, but I've tried, and it's like this. I think it's closer to that because I have exerted more control over this. So, the walls and everything, all the colors in particular are quite important. The colors are all exactly kind of what I wanted them. The lighting is placed where I want it. It's not using any generated whatever to do it unintentionally. I think that is the key to it, but I know that there's more to it. But it starts with, is the frame showing what the artist intends? Is that what's happening? Because if that's not happening, then you don't have that's not really art direction. That's just letting the computer do whatever it wants. And I think that's just from as a gamer, not as the Messiah. Okay, I'm not the Messiah, but as a gamer, I am drawn to games that have had the creators exert dominion over the space and have just not let the engine do its own thing. That's what I like personally. I think that's why realistic games can still hold up, like Crysis, because yes, they were cutting edge at the time, but that was a bonus. Those games still look really cool to me because it is directed really well. The colors are very intentional, and they wanted it to look that way. And it was confident. The execution was confident, whereas I think the real issue that people have, gamers have, that they don't know how to put into words. I mean, it's not their job to put into words, but I think the issue that they really have is that they know how to see when it's like, oh, this frame is not done on purpose, but they don't know the mechanics of why. They just know that there's something off about it. And I think that's kind of the fatigue everyone's having now. It's not that Unreal 5 is bad, it's just that it's being not used deliberately by developers. And this isn't everyone, not everybody, but I think it looks like it's happened enough times for it to become a trend and for people to kind of dogpile on it, which is, that's fine. But it's, I think what's going on there is just a lack of exerting dominion over the space. That's the wording I like to use. And these guys seem to have it. And now, anyone in chat that's like an expert, you can probably make more sense of this than me. You can probably see... I think it's... I'm just looking at this, and I think it's the texture work that's carrying a lot of this. But there's other stuff they're doing here with... And I think it looks like the lighting is like hand done, it looks almost. I don't know. Again, I'll give this a proper read through a bit later, off stream. When I'm not, you guys didn't come here to all read. That's boring. You go to the library to do that. But there's that stuff going. There's that stuff I want to look more into. That it might add a bit of complexity to the materials, but I think it's manageable. It's not going to be super complicated, I don't think. But it's like, it's more deliberate. I saw your, Desmond says, I saw your comparison between your game with default UE settings, with many of those settings turned off. It's amazing how ugly the default settings are. I mean, yeah, and again, like, this isn't really Unreal's fault, because it isn't made for me. It's made for everyone. And most people want those things. That's the reputation that Unreal has, that everyone wants the photorealism, which is fine. It's just you have to know how to use photorealism. And I don't really want to learn I don't want to use photorealism personally. It's just aesthetic. It's just my taste. It's not because it's wrong. It's just my personal taste. And I think controlling photorealism is harder than controlling a style, because photorealism is so complicated. But, that's... I think Epic they kind of have to do that though, because they're the only engine that is known for photo. Like that's their thing, you know. Like they're the only engine that kind of can brag about that, so they are doing it. So I don't really hold that against them. It's just you gotta like ignore. Like I think any developer is like wise to ignore what the engine kind of wants you to do, or not in all cases, but it just to be aware that it's putting a lot of stuff in for you, and just thinking, huh, do I want all of this or not? But thanks for the compliment though. That was a fun little procedure of turning all of that stuff off. The main thing was the tone mapper, because it was washing out all of my colors, and I think you saw in that comparison that the whites looked green because of the tone adjustment and everything. And that was really, I hated that. So I turned it off, and yes, there isn't any dynamic tone mapping anymore, but now the whites look white and the pink looks pink. Like the colors of this character are exactly as they look in Photoshop when I draw her. So I'm like, hey, that's cool. That's what I want. So yeah, there isn't any dynamic. If you go into a dark area, it won't auto adjust or anything, but that's fine. Like I don't really care too much. But yeah, Epic has to fulfill photorealism engine mark. I mean, yeah, and you got to remember as well, guys, that since Unreal, because Unreal's been around a while, and since then it's now being used for a lot more things than just video games. You know, now a lot of people are looking at it to make TV shows and to make movies and to make Mandalorian or whatever. And those guys probably will benefit from all those, and that's cool, but that's not us game developers. But you know, it's an everybody tool now. It's becoming an every tool. And I guess that's kind of the game. Like that's the game they're playing. That's cool. And you kind of it's not to say that it's bad. It's just for a developer, you kind of have to be not afraid to like bonk the engine on the head to get it to do what you want. You have to basically force it into your will. And sometimes it forces you into its will, or the other way around. So I don't know. It's a fun little game of tug of war, I guess. But yeah, but I guess to kind of wrap up the thoughts on that video, yeah, because I don't hate Unreal 5. I just don't care about it really. So it has been kind of interesting seeing the amount of hate for Unreal 5. I think it's just I know that there are games that use it well though. It's just people don't know about them as much, I think. A user says, hello, I sent a super chat about the vibes of your game, and it may have gotten sent on a bad time. Oh, really? I haven't seen it. It isn't showing up here. Sorry if I missed that. Let me find it. So, because I've got my desktop audio muted, so I don't hear the sound. Oh, I found it. I'm so sorry. Because I had my desktop muted so that you guys could hear the audio. I'll turn it back on now. A user, hey, the game gives a lot of PS2 vibes. Is there any reason behind the decision? I would like to know about the decision behind the looks of the game. Oh, cool. Oh, well, I appreciate it. I guess it wasn't exactly what I was going for, which is, again, why I want to, like, do a bit more research on, like, the Ni no Kuni stuff to see if I can get it to look a bit more... Because what I want is, like, the JetX 2000s anime look. That's what I'm going for. And I guess the PS2 look is kind of close. When you just look at backgrounds, mind you, not... I know that characters, they have like the cel-shaded look to them, but the environments usually don't. And I don't know if I can find an image of what I want. I showed some images a few weeks ago. Does anyone know this show? Has anyone grown up with this show? This is like... Now, I know it might seem crazy, but I actually don't watch a lot of anime. I know, it's insane. But this was one of the animes I think it was like this and like Death Note is like the only ones I've really watched. And I'm trying to find a frame of this from the show. But this aesthetic is sort of what I want, right? And I don't know, this is like the coolest... This is the coolest looking aesthetic, I think, in my opinion. I just love this look. But I'm trying to find a better example of like the backgrounds. Because the character... I think I've got the character look nailed, but it's the backgrounds. Because they aren't... People say it's cell shading, but it's not cell shading. It's something else. God, is there really... Like, it's so... That's the thing. It's really hard to find a reference of anime backgrounds. I'll search Bakugan background. It's probably going to come up with a bunch of desktop yeah, it's going to come up with a bunch of desktop wallpapers. But this isn't... No, this isn't it. I just want a frame from the show. Bakugan frame. This is a close-up shot. I want a shot with the background in it. Maybe I just got to look up an episode of Bakugan on the YouTubes. Here we go, episode 1. So we'll scrub through a bit and I'll show you what I'm going for in terms of the look. So you notice with the background, I know that it does have a bit more line work in it in this shot. But in a lot of these shots, it's this very like this. Okay, now there is glossiness on this, but this is not PBR Unreal glossiness. This is something else. This is like hand done. If you were to try, and the trick is getting this in 3D is like hard. At least for me, because I'm not an environment artist. I'm trying to be an environment artist. But the things I have picked up on over studying this is the sort of gradients. Like it has this sort of gradient type shading to it. And in the lighting, there's always like it's like a lens flare, but not really. Where there's always like white gradient in the corner of the frame. For a lot of these. And then for this, you've got, I'm probably not going to go that detailed, but if you look at the door in the background, it isn't cell shaded though. That's the point I'm trying to, it's not the character's cell shaded, but the environment is not cell shaded. It's got this sort of, a lot of it I think is the colors. That's what I know for sure, is that intentional use of colors. Like lots of purples. I know that you might look at this and think, oh, well, the bench is metal, but it's actually kind of a shade purple. And then you've got this blue fog in the corner. And then you've got like this sort of blue fog in the background. Like it's... The main thing I know that I'm on the right track with is that it is intentional. This isn't something you can generate with nanite or what, I don't know, whatever. What's the megalites? Like you can't do this in megalites because it's too automatic. It's got to be an intentional choice. And, with the reflections, it's usually just a blue streak. But you look at the building, there's like, the face that's being lit has a bit of like gradient on it, where it starts off beige and then it fades to white like this. So, I know that there's something going on, but I haven't unlocked the secrets to it all yet. Because, I haven't worked at an anime studio either. So I'm going in as an outsider, trying to work out how they do all that stuff. And doing it in 3D. And having it not take forever. So it's tricky. But I think at the moment, I think the PS2 vibe is at least on the way there. In terms of going from Unreal 4 default 3D to that. Like you kind of have to go through like the low-tech valley where it kind of looks PS2-like. Which I guess that's cool as well. That's cool. But I think with a bit more work, I'd like to try and get it to that where it looks more... I don't know, because PS2 isn't bad. I do like that, but it has to look a little more, less diffuse maybe is the word I'm looking for. But I think a lot of that could come down to the subject matter as well, because the backgrounds I'm comparing are very contemporary, and this is very tech, so that might not be a fair comparison. But if I tried making like a school classroom, which I don't want a school classroom in my game, but if I were to do that with all the diffuse stuff on and Gabi's character model in, it'd probably fool enough people if I did that. But again, there's probably more to it than I know. But I mean, considering that starting from default Unreal 4, I think I'm kind of on the way there at least. And this was also really fun, like designing levels like that, because that's the thing, is you got the visuals and then the actual level design part. So my main thing with this was just deviating. The goal I wanted to achieve with this level was that people couldn't tell if it was Unreal, which I think I've done. Now it's like, now can I convince people to think it is, if I took a still image, would they be fooled into thinking it's from Bakugan? So that's kind of the next level. But I don't know how, I don't know what you got to do exactly to do that, but I'll try. One thing I have thought about doing is the lighting. I think a lot of it has to do with the lighting. And I think I want to look into vertex colors at some point, but I've had a few other priorities in the foreground. But the next time I work on this, I want to look into like manual lighting instead of this, because this is this is all baked lighting, but it's still using Unreal's lighting of you know, using radians or whatever unit of light it is. And I've noticed that games that use vertex, and PS2 games do this as well, by the way, games that use like vertex lighting have really a lot of personality with their light. You get more control. Ooh, thanks so much, Luca, for the 5 R's. I don't know what currency that is. I believe if you look about making a painterly watercolor style for the models, you could get that feel. I have tried that, but it looked really bad. I did try it though. But thanks so much for the 5. I appreciate that. Yeah, I gave it a try, and I tried using just a filter. Because that's what everyone tells you to do, right? It's like, oh, just put a paint filter on it. It'll look great. But it looked so bad. I can't explain it because I don't have it on the game anymore. I've thrown it in the bin. But if you go look at some of my old videos, you'll see I have a video where I try to do it. And it just doesn't quite get it. But I think if that is on the textures themselves, I agree. Now with these are hand-painted textures. I didn't make them personally. I licensed these from somewhere else, but I think they fit generally the vibe of what I was aiming for, at least better than photorealistic textures. But yeah, I think when looking at this Ni no Kuni thing, it looks like... See, the trick is, because hand-painting textures is a lot of manual labor, so what I want to try to do, my approach is to try and just find textures around that match the look, and then sparingly, when needed, make modifications. Because it's just very labor intensive, which is why a lot of people are not doing stylized anymore. Because photorealism, it's hard, but it's like you don't have to hand do anything. So that's the appeal. So I know that with them, and like this, the next level, and this is what Guilty Gear does, is that they actually, like, instead of baking light maps, they like paint in the light maps in like Photoshop or something, which is, now that's a little extreme. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, because I just don't know how to, and it's just a lot of labor. So I'm trying to find a middle ground where it's like, I don't have to do that much manual stuff, but where I do it, it does matter, you know what I mean? But again, I'm not an environment expert. Like, I tried hiring an environment artist to like do stuff, but that kind of was a disaster. So I'm just sort of sticking it out on my own at the moment, trying to learn it on my own. And I mean, those are the discoveries I've made, at least. Your game has anime look so hard, painting is inevitable. Yeah, I mean, it will be, but the thing is, these are already hand-painted, so it's like, that's like, painting over them again is not, I don't think it's going to be the way. Like, this is already hand-painted. But I think, again, it's the subject matter. I think if I had a different, like maybe an outdoors level, I think something like that would probably, it'd be easier, because then you have all the fog and the lighting and stuff that you can use to kind of get the... Because a lot of the reference I'm looking at is all outdoors. So that, you know, I think a lot of it could come to... Like, if I thought about this house, in terms of texturing it, it looks like just a flat color. It doesn't look like there's really much texture at all. It's just the edges are accentuated a bit, and it's got like this sort of gradient, which I'm curious if you can do that with a shader and not have to paint in the gradient. I could be wrong though. Maybe it's a waste of time, but I've heard of this. I don't know if this is the right word, but this like anisotropy. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a function in shaders, from my understanding, where it's like when you look at it from an obtuse angle, like, you know, when you look at, you know the phrase anisotropic filtering? That's sort of like the idea. It's that if you look at the floor and you're looking at it at an angle like this, anisotropic filtering is what kind of blurs the textures when you're looking at it at an angle like that. But as far as I know, apparently there's like anisotropy effects you can add to materials. And one thing I want to give a go at some point is adding like a gradient anisotropy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's like when you look at it at an angle like this, you'll see like a little white gradient from just the edges. But when you look at it face on, it won't be there. But it's when you look at it from the edge, it will. That's something I want to try. I don't know if it'll look garbage or not. It might, but I want to at least try what it looks at some point. But it's, yeah, because it's going to take figuring out. But I mean, I think I'm some of the way there at least. all big gradients. Yeah. Ocarina of Time did lighting, but it was static, and you could tell it was painted onto the texture itself. Yeah, see, that's interesting. So I guess the way I think of it is, because with how big these levels are going to have to be, I don't want to be too insane with hand painting all the shadows. Thanks so much, Snapple, by the way, for gifting one member sub. What do they call them on YouTube? Memberships. Thanks so much for gifting to K1905. Dude, you're a legend, man. Thanks so much. Let me give you more worries. What about music? I thought you would ask. Someone was going to ask. So for the music, I've had a lot of time to think about music. I have made some music already for the game. Because believe it or not, I'm not a musical expert, but I know how to use Logic Pro a bit. I'll turn on the music. I'll head over to the test scene, because this music is not meant to be for this level. But I do have some music at the moment. This is just like, these are all demos still, so they're not finished. But I do have some different music tracks in this little area. So this is music I made. But if I click on this and enter a mission, it'll change to a different track. And then it'll... I don't have any victory music yet, but I will get some. But yeah, so that's... I don't know if that... hopefully that audio came through. Thank you. I got the vibe on point. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, because the thing is, look, I know that... I know what I want with my music, but I'm not a really specialist at anything. Because I have to do the environments, I have to do the character, I had to do the animations, and I have to do the music, and I have to do the gameplay, and I have to do... I love doing all that. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. I love doing it all. But, because I do listen to a lot of music while I work. And I have a very clear idea on what I want. And the thing is that... because I haven't been able to spend a lot of time on the music, because I've had to do everything else. And there's a phase that will happen at some point later where I will get to focus on music, which will be really cool. But for the moment, yeah, because I know the genre I kind of want to do, I know the general aesthetic, but a lot of it will depend on the actual levels that end up getting made, which will depend on the plot, which I am working on. So it's, but I know the general sense of what I want, and I know what I don't want. Music is very good, thank you. I think it's, it could probably be better, but I mean, I guess it's not bad for someone that has no music training or anything. I don't know how to read sheet music, or I don't, the what is it, the Dorian scale, I don't know what any of that means, but I know what I like, and I like a certain sound. So, how do you feel if the Project Feelings OST became intrinsic with Fruitica Aero playlist? That'd be freaking cool, not gonna lie. That would be an honor. That would be the ultimate goal. That'd be pretty sick. But yeah, it could be better, but save the improvements for yeah, precisely. So like I said, I think I said earlier in the stream that there's a lot, guys, I'm gonna be real, the game, we're not ready to release the game, okay? I know people want it out as quick as possible, but I still have a lot of work to do, okay? I got a lot to do still, and I'm getting through it a day at a time. But there is going to be a very expensive phase, which will be making content, and that's level design, that's making, locales and themes and textures and music. And that's going to cost a bit of time and money. So, and I don't have all, I'm not in a position where I can take all of that on right now, but I want to at least get a demo that represents it. That's sort of what I've been working towards. And it turns out making a demo is kind of hard, and a lot can go wrong. So a lot of the time that I've had to spend on it has mostly just been from getting things wrong and learning how not to do things. But now I think we're past the darkest point, I'd like to think, where I know what hell looks like now, and what I want to avoid. But all of that stuff I've mentioned, like that's I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but that's all the stuff that's standing in the way. So that's sort of like that's gonna be all in the future, but it's stuff I'm excited to tackle, and I know how I want to tackle it, and I know how I want it to come out. So yeah, if you guys want like just to like if you want a better idea on like the kind of music, I don't know, I might have some CDs, like because I'm a physical music enjoyer. Okay, I'm not with them Spotify guys. I'll get some CDs out from my drawer. I'll show you the kind of influences I'm taking on. All right, so I've got some here. First I'll get my webcam. So in terms of musical influence, I didn't think we'd be going over this topic today, but seeing as you asked, banger album. This is freaking awesome. The music for this show goes so hard. You have no idea. This is amazing stuff. And there's a certain energy to it that is, I don't know, man, it's cool. I like it. It's very youthful, and it's Frutica Aero-esque a bit. So I like, there's bits of that I want to borrow of like the theme music and whatever, like just the high energy of it all. It's just really cool. I just love it. I found this a while back. Now, I'm not really a big fan of J-pop, and I'm not a big fan of vocals in general. I just kind of tune out the vocals and listen to what's everything else. But this is really cool. It's got a very mid-2000s sound, and I like mid-2000s. It's really cool. And the packaging design is just really cool as well for this. So a lot of the time, half of the fun of when I buy music is just the package design of everything I really enjoy. Like the CD for this looks freaking epic. Look at that. That's pretty high-tech and cool. So part of that I want to use as inspiration for like UI elements or something, where it's like their color choices and everything like that. And then there's this album. Now this might be a surprise. Some of you might know one of the songs on this. This is the famous Fireflies, You Would Not Believe Your Eyes. This is one of my favorite artists, and a lot of my work is inspired by his work. This is actually one dude, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that. Our City is actually not a band, would you believe? It's actually just one guy. And he's been kind of a big inspiration for everything I do, but his music has so much soul, and it's beautiful, and it's optimistic, and I like that. And I want my music in the game to be a bit like that. The percussion is also extremely detailed, and I like detailed percussion. It's really freaking cool. And then there's this album that I've been listening to a lot recently. And this is, I don't really know much about the artist, but I think it's really underrated. It's got like it sounds like a story when you listen to it, which is really cool. Like the album is called Laventale, and it sounds like it's a movie or something. Like you hear that title and you think, oh, this is like an anime or something. Like it looks, I mean, the album cover and everything, it looks like it's an anime, but it's not it's just an album. Like it doesn't have a series or anything, but you listen to it and it sounds like you're experiencing a story, and I really like that. And the percussion is also very detailed. The instrumentation is tight. It's a bit J-rock for me. Like I like J-rock a bit, but this is a bit heavy on like the guitars and stuff, which is cool. Might not be what I do, but it's that's the stuff I've been like feeding myself and studying, and I just listened to it over and over and over and over, and my chat window crashed. Let me get that back real quick. Sorry guys. But yeah, I listen because like I'm not a composer. I don't know what I'm doing, but I listen. And I can hear layers of stuff. I can like recognize what's going on. And that's kind of like, oh man, I want to do that. That'd be awesome. So I've tried to do a bit of that in my samples, in my like demos, but I know that I'm not as good as those guys. But I guess like those guys would also be expensive as hell to hire. They're probably not for hire at all. Like they're way too successful. They don't have to do anything. But yeah, so that's kind of like some of the influences I've been taking on of like the general... like the kind of stuff I want the feeling to be like. But yeah, I don't know if any of you guys know that music or not. I'm not expecting everyone will like know all of these. Maybe Lazy Town. That's everyone has to know that one. It'd be sick if you made a jukebox in game that kicks. It would be cool. It would be a lot of work though. So I don't want to get too caught up in, you know, adding too much to the game because I still have to do everything else. But it would be a cool idea. Dynamic music would be cool. I agree, it would be cool. It would also be expensive to program. So I don't know. Like those things, they are cool ideas, but I think of them as luxuries, where if circumstances make it so that that is possible, that would be cool. But you know, that's hard to do just in time and in money to do that stuff. So, you know, it's a cool idea. I can't promise I'll do that though. I don't even know how you'd program dynamic music. For me, like most of the games I play don't have dynamic music. They just have really cool music. So I'd rather, if I had to put my effort in anywhere, it'd just be trying to make the music cool. What is this TV in the background? Oh, that's a... Don't laugh, okay? That's my TV. It's not a... Oh, thanks so much. How do I pronounce your name? Tetai like 3 for becoming a supporter. I appreciate that, man. Thanks so much. Look, okay, don't laugh. That's my TV. It's a big fat CRT. It's not a 4K HDR. Stop laughing, okay? I know that it's not a 4K HDR TV. I don't want a 4K HDR TV. You know, that cost me... You know how much that cost me? This is amazing. The cool thing about old TVs is that they're so dirt cheap. I think that was like $30 for that. And, you know, I see my friends go out and they pay like $3,000 for a TV. And I'm like, bro, you could just spend $30 and have like it's a compact form factor as well. And you could put stuff on it. So I've actually got a little like Wii... What do you call it? The Wii sensor bar. I can just put that on top, which you can't do with TVs anymore because they're too thin. So I don't know. I know people think it's cringe that I'm using old technology. I don't know, man. I like it. It looks cool. I know that it's not HD, but it looks cool. I just like it. CRT in the year of our Lord 2025. And it's like, just shut up. It's not insane. It's practical. It's budget, okay? It's not insane. I'm not crazy. I am not crazy. I'm not crazy. CRTs are cool. Don't let anyone do it. Yeah, see, Teddy like 3. They know what's up. They know what's up. I'm an analog guy. I guess so. I mean, I do CDs don't count as analog though. If I was a real analog guy, I have a big vinyl collection. So I'm almost. CRT honestly has a vibe. I mean, it kind of does. I do like CRTs. Yeah, I can play Wii games the way they were intended. That's right. Now, I just got to think, because what's the time? I've got about another 40 minutes until I have to get back to work. And I had another topic I wanted to cover. CRT filter. I don't know how to, like, making a good CRT filter is not, it's not easy, okay? Because I've studied the CRT effect a little. And it's... Oh wait, what's this message? Held a message for using... No, don't hide that message. Show it. Why is it hiding messages? Why is auto mod... Okay, I don't know what auto mod's doing. It's hiding messages. What was I gonna... Yeah, so I've seen games use CRT filters, but they if they just put scan lines and like, yeah, that's good enough. But that's not... If you actually own one, you know that that's not how it looks. There's a certain thing with like the way it moves, like the way motion looks on it is like completely different. And it's got like the cells, whatever you call them, the little grills in them. It's not just scan lines. There's more to it. So I don't know how to program one of those. I know that Reshade has some cool CRT effects. So if you guys just want to install Reshade and play my game with a Reshade, you could do that. You can get a cool preset with that. But I don't know how to make a CRT filter. Retro Art has cool CRT filters? Hell yeah. But they're heavy FPS eaters. I mean, well, you know, some games back in the day did, like the N64 ran at like 20 frames a second, didn't it? While they have been studying the sword, Raymond has been studying the CRT. I mean, yeah, man. It's worth study. It's a noble pursuit. It's a noble profession. Because You still play Time Crisis with it. That's cool. Yeah, man, you guys seem to... Some of you seem to really like... You digging the CRT vibe. Yeah, maybe I should film all my devlogs on the CRT from now on. Without color, there's just scan lines. Yeah, I mean, but there's the three... Well, I don't know what they call them, but there's like 3 things with the red, green, and blue. And that grill pattern changes depending on the screen. And then there's like expensive CRTs have it a bit different, where I don't know the specifics, but I know that there's grades to it. This is just some cheap, nasty one. But I know that there's like the professional grade TV monitoring, like they use at broadcast stations, that are like very cool. They're like square shaped. And those ones have a bit more higher fidelity and like better quality components. But I don't know it in depth. I just know that that's a thing. A lot of N64 actually played at 60 FPS. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Because I've only really played a bit of that, Ocarina of Time, and that ran, I think it runs at like 30 frames from memory. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. It's been a while. But anyway, I did have another topic I wanted to cover. And thanks so much for all the viewership today, by the way, guys. It's way more than usual. So thank you. Now, with progress on other things, because I have a devlog I've been working on, and I'll get that open. So last week, because you guys, I mean, I'll bring up Gabi again real quick. The next devlog I'm doing is about Gabi's model. Some of you might know, because this was an ordeal. This took quite a long time. And a lot of the people following the devlogs probably don't even know that I've done this yet. Because the last devlog I made was on a different topic completely. But I spent a lot of last year on this model. The thing is that, you know, I want to make a video about it and what it was like. But I underestimated how complicated it was, because I've like forgotten a lot of it now. But making a character model like this is actually really difficult. But I want to do a video where I tell the story on how I did it. But not in a technical, like, overwhelming way, because I don't think I could do it justice. It's not meant to be like a tutorial, but it's meant to be more a journey of, like, here's how I went from, like, bad modeling skills to this, and all the stuff I had to, like, think about and pay attention to. So I tried writing a script for this. I started writing the script for this at the beginning of the month. And I very quickly got overwhelmed with just the amount of technical details there were. And it's like, how much prior knowledge do I assume? How much, like how much do I go into it? And I don't know, because I don't know. If you go too technical, then the audience loses interest, because nobody cares. And if you don't make it technical enough, then it looks too easy. And it's like, oh, well, this guy he just made the model. It was that easy? And it's like, no, it wasn't that easy at all. So it's like getting that middle ground of, like, how do I tell the story and get the gist of it without getting too caught up in the technicals? And I think as I was trying to write this, I put this episode down to work on the video I just uploaded about Unreal 4. And I've come back to this yesterday to try and write. And I was getting stuck on it, man. Like, I just couldn't make any headway with it, because there is just so much. Because there's all of these GDC talks and presentations and all this stuff, and it's just like, like, is my audience going to care about this? I don't know. So someone I was complaining about this last week, and someone suggested, why don't you just do like a 3-hour rant about how you did it? And I thought, no, there's no way I could do that. Like, people have an expectation of quality, right? Like, I can't just go and rant about something and expect people to watch it. That's silly. But then I made the video last week about Unreal 4, which was unscripted, and that's like my best performing video ever at the moment. So I thought, you know, maybe that's not a bad idea. So I threw the script in the bin, and because I was just getting too stuck on it. So I instead just did a big recording of trying to tell the story from memory. And it went for about an hour and a half of me, like, not even the animations, mind you. This is just the modeling. The animations is going to be a separate video. So just on the character model, I tried recording it and recalling it all as if we were in a pub and I was telling the story by memory. And I think it actually came out okay. it's not ready for like editing yet, and there's a lot of dead weight. There's a lot of fat to trim, and I do get stuck a little near the middle on some technicals. So, but what it did give me a sense of is the pacing for it. So if you do want to see like an early preview of this, by the way, I'm going to be releasing this to my early access supporters and patrons if you want to like get the first viewing of this before everyone else does. But in the meantime, I've been trying to just chip away at it and get the flow down, and like make sure that at least like if I can't find this interesting to listen to, then no one's going to watch it. So that's the thing. So I did the recording, and then I've just been going through and trying to make notes on like where topics begin and where topics end. And what I think I'll end up doing is I'll like go through a topic at a time. Like I think this area here is about one thing, and it's a bit, I could shorten it. So what I might do is just listen and then like re-record bits of it, like not purely scripted, but like listen to like the first attempt and then iterate over again to try and explain it quicker. And maybe I do that a couple times. And I think maybe then I'll be able to architect a good, entertaining video about a really complicated topic in a way that's entertaining. So that's kind of the progress on the video. And a lot of the progress was held up because I was trying to learn a new editing software as well. So I was trying to get away from Adobe and use DaVinci. But I don't know, I couldn't get into the flow of it. Everything was really hard for me to do. And just doing simple things that I could do in like 2 seconds in Premiere would take a long time in DaVinci. There were some good things though about it. The timeline was really responsive. Importing footage was really fast. But it's just not for me, you know? It's I think I underestimated how familiar I was with Premiere. Because I didn't think I was that good. I thought, oh well, yeah, it's just editing. And then I tried DaVinci and it's like, oh, actually, wow, I'm actually really familiar with Premiere. Oh my god. So I've gone back to Premiere, and as much as I don't like Adobe, you know, I'm familiar with their software, and the software is high quality. It's really good. I just hate how they keep upping the price for it. But maybe that's a skill issue on my end. Maybe I just need to make more money, you know? Maybe that's kind of the conclusion I came to, is that I could lose all this time now and save money in the long term, but I really need to maintain a schedule this year. And I gave it a go, and I said, you know, in the time it's going to take me to learn how to do that, because this is an hour and a half, and it's like editing an hour and a half in a new software is a lot of work, because you essentially have to relearn editing from scratch. And it's like, this is a big video, I need to get it out timely. I'm just going to do it the way I know. So I've sort of given up on the DaVinci arc for the moment. Maybe for the next devlog project I do, I might consider doing it. But I think it's a bit too late to switch for me now. And I'm very, like, that video I put out just a few days ago, like literally I tried spending 3 days in DaVinci doing it, and then I just redid it in Premiere in like an hour. So it's like that kind of time, like time is pretty valuable. So I want to try and save that. And I think I probably should just try to make more money so that I can afford Adobe. That's the way I'm going to try and play it from now on. So yeah, check out the merch, guys. Linked in the description. Subscribe on Patreon so I can afford my Adobe subscription. I'd appreciate that. There's a channel where they try to switch to new tech. Really? Video about DaVinci skill learning and your experience with it. Well, this is the video right now. I'm telling you right now. DaVinci's cool, but I'm too familiar with Premiere. And basically the video you want is the video I just made about Unreal, but just change it to be about Premiere, and it's basically the same video. The main message of it is just, I think the best tool is the tool you use. So that's kind of the lesson I learned from that video, and the lesson I learned trying to make that video. And for me, the best tool for editing is Premiere and Audition. It's not, you know, there's might be better tools out there for different things. I know that color grading in DaVinci is better than anything else, but I'm not going to use color grading. And there's, it's because it's the workflow. It isn't the tool, it's the workflow. That's what I got stuck on, is that the way it wants you to work is not the way I want to work. I don't know, maybe, I don't know about if this is a Premiere thing, but when I was doing Premiere, I wasn't taught a workflow. I just sort of figured out how to use it my way. And I like my way, and my way works. I'm familiar with my way, and Premiere lets me do it my way. DaVinci not so much, which is not, it's not DaVinci's fault. It's a me problem. But it's like, do I want to change myself to be compatible with DaVinci, or do I want to just keep doing it my way? And I said, you know what? Yes, my way is going to cost a bit more money, but it costs less time. So build your own game engine. Oh, dude. Okay, this is what I kept trying to say. I'm not the Messiah. I'm not the Lisan Gaib. I don't know how to make an engine. What are you kidding? I have no idea how to do that. I'm not Jonathan Blow, okay? I don't know how to do that. I could try to learn it, but it would take too long, okay? Like, you gotta make some compromises sometimes. But I respect people that do that, though. Not saying it's a bad idea. It's just I'm not even supposed to know how to code, okay? This is my secret, okay? Don't tell anyone this. I don't have a degree in coding, okay? I'm just a regular Joe. I kind of know scripting a bit. That's it. Like, I don't know how to make an engine. But I get it would be cool though. So far he says, I feel the same way with compositing in After Effects versus DaVinci. If AE is good enough for Japanese anime compositors, it's good enough for me. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I have heard that After Effects is kind of unprecedented. Like, I haven't heard of a particularly strong replacement to After Effects. And I think I would guess a lot of it has to do with the fact that After Effects has just been around longer than the competitors, which is fair. And I think a lot of it as well is because the thing I don't like with Adobe is that, yeah, they keep changing the prices and they keep adding bloat to it, to the software, where they add all the AI stuff or whatever. But on the other hand, it seems like there is a level of the program that they haven't ruined, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Where, like this, for instance, this user interface, it isn't like a modern user interface. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to design this app today, it would have like the rounded corners, it would have like the white drop shadows, and it would have like the over curved and like Arial bold everywhere, and the font size would be like 10 times larger, like Notion or something. Like, but this doesn't look like that. This still looks like an old program. And I think with Adobe, there's this weird thing. And again, this is a game theory here. I'm not the Messiah that works at Adobe. I don't know how they run things, but I have a sense that whatever people they have updating the programs now are definitely not the people that made the programs originally. And I have to guess, it's just a game theory, but I think the people that made the program, like the actual program itself, especially after, I don't know about Audition, but I think After Effects, this is definitely true. Like, the program itself is so complicated that the new people that they've hired haven't figured out how to reverse engineer it. So they just don't touch that area, and they add layers on top. And you can tell because when they have like the opening screen where it's like, hey Raymond, what do you like to do today? They have it like in this friendly California, you know, the phrasing, the tone, and it's in a different font than the rest of the program, and it's in its own window separate from the rest of the program. And I always just close it immediately. And then when you get that out of the way, or like the Learn tab, like that feels like an add-on thing, but it feels like they've had to make them add-ons because they can't actually crack the base program because it's so complicated. That's what I think's going on, which is why that's kind of where I see where Adobe stuff has merit, insofar as that there's good bones underneath it. It's just they keep adding all the stuff on top that's a bit annoying. But I can put up with that if it means that they just don't mess up the bones of the skeleton, you know what I mean? But I don't know. That's a game theory. I'm just talking out of, like, I don't know if that's... It just feels like that's what's happening there. And I like the bones of Adobe. I like the because a lot of it's just from CS6, isn't it? Like, a lot of these it's just iterated. They're coming from older versions where it was really good. Now, if I could use those old versions, I would, but Adobe sues people if you do that. So that's unfortunate, but yeah. But the fact that underneath the Creative Cloud stuff, it's still basically CS6. That's what I like. But anyway, sometimes you pretty much have to rewrite code at some point because new people have no idea how to do stuff. That's true, but when you rewrite stuff, you know, you can break a lot of things. And I'd imagine with a program like any Adobe program, there's probably heaps of interdependencies on things. And it's like not worth the risk breaking it. That's just my guess. I don't know. I don't know how to make Photoshop or anything. But yeah, so for those reasons, I've kind of given up on the emancipating from Adobe Arc. I know that it'd be cool. Maybe one day, if I get that good, I might be able to do it. But for the moment, just for the sake of time, I'm going to stay with Adobe and just eat the cost, because, I mean, the program itself is actually still pretty good. But yeah, so that's sort of that means that now the devlog should be coming along a bit more timely. It's just a lot of it is going to be that voiceover and then finding footage. And I have a lot of footage. I have a lot of footage of making this model. So it's going to be a bit of a process, but I feel a bit less stuck on it now that I've recorded it out loud and I can feel the flow. Because the tricky thing with that is riding the line between being too technical and being entertaining. Because at the end of the day, if you want the technicals, the GDC talk exists already. The PowerPoint slides exist already. You don't need my video for it. So I have to think, well, what is the point of me making the video? And I think for me, the point is to take you on the journey of going from a guy that isn't a 15-year Arc System Works like animator, that isn't just a normal guy, to try and learn that style. I think that's what the video is about. And there's a few technicals that are along the way in that regard, but I don't want to make it like a GDC talk, because I'm not good enough to give a GDC talk. But I can tell my story of like how I did it. So that's kind of what I want to do. But yeah, so it's in the cooking area right now. It's being worked on. So over the next week or so, I'm going to be working more on that and trying to do more little tasks to polish up this demo where I can. That's kind of going to be the focus. The thing is, I've actually, because we're getting up to the end of January now, and I got a lot of the stuff I wanted to do finished, which is good. My goals were to get the special effects done, and like for the most part they are. I want to find a better land sound effect, honestly, because it sounds a bit heavy. But the particles, the audio sounds are all in. And then I did get a video out, which is part of my goal. It just wasn't the video I thought I would get out. But I also didn't expect I'd get so stuck on DaVinci. So I guess, in a roundabout way, I reached my goals for the month. That's cool. I have to think about the next phase, because I do have I made a plan at the start of the year on what I'd be doing in each quarter. So I'll have to consult my plan for what I'm going to get done in February. And I guess we'll find out by next week what that'll be. Is this on a laptop or desktop? This is a desktop computer. I do have a laptop. It's like 10 years old though, and I might keep it around for testing purposes. But this, I'm doing most of it on a laptop. Although, yeah, when I did start Project Feline, I started on a laptop, but I moved to a desktop eventually. Code refactoring is slow, no market value. I mean, yeah, it is valuable, but you have to really delay gratification, which isn't always viable. So it's complicated. Adobe actually reached out to me and gave me their products completely for free. Really? Wow. That's amazing, dude. That totally happened. You'll have to teach me that trick. Dude, I gotta call Adobe right now. I gotta do what this guy did. Demon Lord got it for free. Man. See, well, you know, they're probably not going to do that now because I've just spent the last 10 minutes dissing them. So that opportunity's probably gone now. No. Yeah, it's over. Anyway, how are we doing for time? All right, well, actually, I still have like another 20 minutes left. But I don't know. Should I keep going or should I get back to work is the question. His dad is Mr. Adobe. Oh, well, if that's the case, then... Oof. Yeah. I'm gonna have to... I need a nepotism strategy. That's what I gotta do next. I gotta convince my dad to get an Adobe. That's what I gotta do. Although, actually, on that topic, on the video we were talking about, because part of my inspiration for my attitude of sticking with software, because that's what my dad does, right? And when I was learning to use like my dad taught me most of the early tools that I knew how to use. When I was like 7, he taught me how to use PowerPoint, how to make vector art in PowerPoint using the freeform tool, which is fun, actually. And he always, I don't know, he's like never upgraded stuff really. Like he still uses like Microsoft Word 2003 to write his books, and he still uses like SolidWorks 2004 to make parts, and he still uses like Microsoft Image Composer 1997 to edit images, and he's like the happiest guy I know. He never has issues with this stuff, and he just gets things done. He's like, oh, I need to model a part for a thing. I'll just open SolidWorks 2004 and just make it, because I've used this software for 20 years and I know how to do it. And it's just so cool. And it's like, oh man, he looks happy. He's never complaining about upgrades, unless it's like he has like he has one computer that's on the latest thing, and he's always complaining about that one. But his older computers that he keeps offline, that he just uses for that stuff, it's like running Windows XP and stuff, and like Microsoft Word 2000, like he never complains about that one. It's always like a great time, and he just gets things done. And I'm like, that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe I should take after him, and that's kind of my attitude with things. So, at the moment, Microsoft has been nagging me where it's like, you gotta upgrade to Windows 11 right now. You gotta buy a new CPU and upgrade. You gotta do it. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to buy a new CPU to do that, because like my computer works. I don't know what's the problem. So I get a bit annoyed by that. So I don't know. Maybe the problem is me though. Maybe I actually have the soul of an old man. Maybe I'm the problem. But I don't know. I like sticking with things. Will you do 3D modeling for other characters? I'm going to try to avoid doing that. I think I did answer this question a few streams ago, but to quickly answer that again, Gabi's model was a lot of work. And if you really want to know already like how much work it was, I do have some stream VODs on this channel of me making it live, and it was hell, okay? But it was fun, but it was hell. And it took a long time to learn the techniques and everything. Now, granted, if I did it again, I could do it quicker, but I know that it will still take like probably 3 months per character. And I'm not making that number up. And that isn't because a skill issue, get good type thing. This is how long the Arc system devs take to make their ones, right? And these guys are pros. They have like animation, they've worked in traditional animation and everything for like 15 years, and it takes them like 4 months to do one character. So that's not a skill issue on my end. That's how long it just takes to do it this way. So with that in mind, I think it's worth it for Gabi, because she's the main character. She's always on screen. But the other characters, I mean, I've got them just to sprites right now. What I want to try is maybe doing it in such a way where the characters only appear in between levels, and like not giving them models at all, and having your interactions with them be in some other medium that is not in the game. Because yes, it might not sound as cool, but it's a smarter choice because it's less work. So if I can have I don't know if you guys have played the original like Gravity Rush. I played that game a few years ago, and their cinematics are really cool because they're literally just comic strips. And I looked at that and went, oh, I could do that. I know how to draw. I could just do any storytelling I could just do in comic strips. And it'd be a cool little reward in between levels. So again, this is part of the alpha like content era, which we're not up to that part yet. But the approach I would want to take is like a budget Gravity Rush, where I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if I can find cutscenes for it, because they do have actual cutscenes, but I'm not going to do that because it's going to take too long. But they have these like in between, like these little comic strips, and it's like a smart thing to do. Just my game theory is that the smart option of getting the other characters in game, is to have them only appear in these types of like make little things, comic strips like this, and have them only appear in here. Because then I don't have to spend like, because if it's 4 months a character, that's going to be 8 months to make 2 characters that aren't playable. And it's like, is that worth 8 months? And at the moment, my intuition tells me no. The voices in my head tell me no. But I could easily just draw them ad hoc in comic strips instead. Now, on the other hand of the coin, with Gabi's model, Oh, why is it showing? No, I don't want that scene. Ew. But the with Gabi's model, because she's gonna have to be in it quite a bit, of course. And the cool thing is that because Gabi's model is so drawing-like anyway, what I could get away with doing is, if I was to make comic strips like this, to just not draw Gabi in, but just use her model in, and then draw the other characters. So that way, you know, I'm not wasting time drawing Gabi heaps of times. I'm just using a model. And then for the other characters, I'm only drawing them when I need to draw them, and I don't need to spend that much time on the models. So it's a compromise, but I think it's smart. It's probably more work than I think it is, though, just because that's just what my experience has told me, is that everything is always super hard. But that's my current like way I want to do it. Whether I could do that, I haven't actually tried it yet. That's the thing. But it looks like a smarter move than trying to do, like, you know, full-on 3D cutscenes or something. I feel like 3D and 2D at the same time might clash. I guess it depends on how. If you mean like, I don't really know what you mean, like, exactly. But I think if you're worried that it won't look good together if I have Gabi's model and the other characters drawn in, if you're worried that that will not work, let me show you a cool little trick. So on my YouTube channel, you see this cover image? You see this? So that's her model. So I reckon if the model can look that good, because I bet you guys didn't know that. I bet you thought this was drawn. It technically kind of is. I've touched it up a little in post, but it's a screenshot of the model just touched up, which is a faster to do than drawing it all from scratch. So I reckon if that's possible, then it should be like this. This took maybe I don't know, maybe like a few hours to pose it, to then put the dodge and burn, and to do like the clean up the line work and the shadows. It took maybe, because this was the first time I did that, so it might have taken like maybe 4 hours or so, but I know how to do it faster now, so to take less time for each pose. Whereas if I was to draw it from scratch, it takes a bit longer, because I don't practice drawing every day anymore, and I'm a bit rusty, and it takes me a bit longer to get the right pose and the shading and everything. But I reckon that is more efficient, of just using Gabi's model, and then for because the other characters, they aren't as detailed, so I know I could, you know, I'm willing to accept them looking a little worse than Gabi, because they're not the main character anyway. Oh, is it full? Oh, sorry, I didn't know my desktop wasn't visible. Let me show that again. Sorry. This picture, this one on my cover image, this. So that's her model, just touched up a bit in Clip Studio, just to clean up the jaggies on the shadows. So my game theory is, if I can fool people into thinking that that is a drawing that easily, then using 3D might be a good idea after all. But to get the model to look, to be that able to trick you, that cost months to get the actual model itself to be that good. But the payoff there is that months it took is worth it, because it doesn't just help with the promotional stuff. It also, you also see her in game as the main character, so that makes it worth it in that case, because she's the girl you're playing as all the time, right? So it makes sense. But for Felix and Calder, they're not going to be playable, so it seems a bit not the right move to put the same effort in for something I don't need to use as heavily, if that makes sense. But hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Admiral was convinced it was a drawing. Haha, I got him. See, I fooled you. So, but to do that, it took a lot of work, which is why I'm trying my best to get the video going along, describing the amount of work it took to get the model to look like that. Because the old model I had before did not fool anybody. It didn't fool anyone. I feel like a 3D parkour game having illustrated full screen story dumps will kind of disconnect. Well, if they are dumps, yes. The trick is you just got to not go too heavy. So, because look, I mean, that's kind of the only option I have at my disposal. Like, I don't have the budget to do fully voice acted cutscenes. Like that's just too expensive. So that's kind of the only option I have. But the trick is not going overboard, because I think the issue where people have with stories in general in games is when it's too expository and it's like a dump and they just want to skip through it. So what I'm trying to do is make the games in such a way where you could skip through it and you won't get bothered too much. But also they're kind of like rewards, you know what I mean? So what I want to have it is that when you finish levels or a group of levels, it'll reward you with like a short little comic strip, like to give you some context into the next thing and to progress the plot. But I don't want to go that overboard with like lore dumps or, you know, because I don't really care about that stuff in the games I play personally. It has to be easy to follow. The thing I want to try and lean into though is like the characters themselves, because I don't know if the plot is going to be amazing, but I want the characters to be entertaining. You know what I mean? I want the interactions to be entertaining. So it's like, I do have a video, I have a devlog on my character designs, and I have some thoughts into like their personalities and stuff. But that's kind of, because I don't know, for me it's sort of like I don't know, character for me is like very important. And I guess this is what's going to give my game its flavor. Because there's other more clinical 3D platformers out there that are just speedrunning platformers and nothing else. Oh, thanks, by the way, Tris Camel, for the 100 bits. Like the Angry Birds comics? I don't know. I haven't played Angry Birds, so I don't know. I'll look that up. Oh, wow. Oh, I remember this game. Angry Birds. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just glancing at it in Google real quick. Because I know how to draw comics. I can kind of figure it out. But I don't, like, 3D animated cutscenes is just too expensive. But I want to have a bit of, I don't know, because people can kind of tell that there's, like, something happening, you know what I mean? Like, I have the gameplay and the character, and I haven't even said that much about the plot. And that's on purpose. I know people really want to hear more about it. They want to go, no, I want more lore. I know you guys want more lore, but I've kept my mouth shut on that for a reason. But the trick is that it has to, people can get a sense that there's something happening, that there's a plot going on. And I guess the trick is to kind of like fulfill the promise people think they have about what the premise is, but to not have to like do it at the expense of the game, which is the tricky thing. And I think a lot of indie games I've seen, they go a little too heavy on the story, where it kind of gets annoying, you know what I mean? I think that's what you guys, I'm guessing that's what you're worried about with like putting comic strips between the levels. And I've seen some games do this where it's like they don't really have like an actual story. It's more they want to have the story, but they don't have anything to say. So they'll put in these little bits in the game, and their characters are usually like over voice acted and over emotive. And it's usually the story isn't even that interesting, where it's I'm trying to think of an example. And I'm trying to think of an example, but like not to criticize it or like sling, you know, not to like be mean. But I've seen like, I don't know what was the name of the game? There was some game that did this that was like really popular, and it was like one of the things that kind of made or broke the game for some people. Oh, what was the name of it? It was a speedrunning game, and it was like first person, and it was white. There was a lot of the color white in it. But I don't know, whatever it was, because I didn't play it, but I saw like cutscenes of it, and it was like every time there was like a level, there'd be like the 2D anime novel stills. It wasn't like a comic strip, but it was like stills with a static background and text boxes, which is a bit different to what I want to do. But they had like, just, I don't know, I didn't like it that much just looking at the video, and like they'd have the characters interact, and it would be like there wasn't any like character there. It was all kind of flavor, where the characters would just kind of quip at each other like Marvel heroes, like, huh, I guess you're late or something. I don't know, I don't know, but you know what I mean, right? It's that kind of thing where they've like watched a few Marvel movies and they think they know how to write, so they like make the characters sarcastic to cover up for the lack of authentic charm. That's sort of what I see. And I don't know, some people liked it, but I didn't personally. It kind of, I would want to cut that part out. And the voice acting felt a bit too forced, which is why I'm avoiding voice acting. I don't want to do it because it's just too easy to get wrong. But they had their characters, like, one of them was like really suggestive, and that kind of bothered me a bit, where she kept like making innuendos at the other character. And I'm just like, I just want to, like, can we not do that? Like, can I just have normal characters, please, that aren't, you know? So I don't know, that's just my taste though, right? It's a taste thing. But with the way I would want to do it, I'd want to try and like not rely too much on like quippy dialogue as like as the charm. Because with my characters, I haven't said much about them, but I have put a lot of thought into who they are, not as a visual mascot that you see. So I've tried to think very deeply about Gabi's goals, what she wants, who she really is. And I've learned a lot about that making her model, actually. When I was making the model, and this is, I'll say this, and I'll look at this clip later and think about maybe putting this in the video. Because with Gabi, modeling her, because the first model of her, I had a sense of who she was, kind of, but this was a childhood character, by the way. I came up with her like years ago, and she kind of grew with me in that time. And she used to be, personality and temperament-wise, she used to be very different, and she used to be kind of more timid and a lot more underdeveloped. But when I started working on the new model and giving her like biceps, giving her a better haircut, giving her a better skin tone, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it felt like I was getting to know her better. Which sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Because it's like, well, it's your character, you should know. And it's like, that's not really how I see it. The way I see it is that they are them, and I'm me. And my job is to channel them and like, it's to carry them forward in a product. But it's like, I'm not them, you know what I mean? Like, the characters are themselves almost. Like, they have their own... I'm just sort of the receiver. I'm the servant. That's sort of how I see it. So when I think about like characters in that regard, I'm thinking about like what they are, you know, who beyond just the appearance. It's like, what does the appearance say about them? Like, who are they really? And just in real life, when I'm not much of a people person, but I observe people's character, like not in the video game character sense, but in terms of the content of their character and like the Martin Luther King type sense. I find that's why I find shows like Better Call Saul really interesting, because it is about character, that show. It's about like the corruption of a character or something like that. And that's sort of stuff I've just been stirring in the pot for a while. And I want to see how much I can successfully execute on that. And I think I'm doing a okay job insofar as that some of it shows in the design, because if it didn't, then none of you would find her appealing at all. So that's, like, the fact that you guys like Gabi at all kind of tells me that I'm onto something. And I haven't even told you much about her, but you guys can infer things. I think that's what's happening. Like, we haven't really talked about this directly before, but, like, I can infer things looking at her. You guys can infer things. And this is why I loved animating her too, is that when I was doing her animations again, I could put some of what I knew about her now into them. So the fact that she is so acrobatic and disciplined with her movements, that says something about her, right? That might differentiate her from other characters that look like her. So, and I think that felt like the right call, because that's kind of how I am a bit. You know, I'm not exactly like Gabi, but I think where Gabi and I have something in common is that I'll put Gabi's model back on screen. But because I think one thing Gabi and I have in common, I think we have different temperaments, but I know that we both are kind of obsessive, and we are very determined. And that's kind of, I didn't really see that in her before making the model again, but now that I've done it again and I can see her doing her stretches and her flips and everything, I can see that in her now. And it's like, it isn't me, but it's part of me in there. And then for the different characters, there's other parts as well. So for Calder, for instance, you could probably infer things about him just from his appearance. He's, from what I know about him, and this is the weird thing, is that I didn't choose this. This is just sort of how it feels. when I see Calder, you know, I think of someone that's kind of very risk averse and solitude, and is very you know, he's very stoic and also kind of worried about things. And I didn't really make that up. That's just like, it felt like when I met him in my head, that's sort of how he was. I didn't really choose that. He chose that. So there's all this kind of other elements to it as well that's cool. That in terms of constructing a story, that's the stuff I want to put at the forefront, is that, because that's what I care about. Like for me, in terms of the plot, I'm not really that, like, I don't remember plots that well, you know? Like there's a few games I've played that have had plots, and it might be like the Sonic 06 plot was wild. That was funny. I mean, I liked it. It was cool. But I don't remember all the little details, but I do remember the characters. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of the attitude I'm taking with it. And I think it's definitely, I can see a much clearer path forward now that I know Gabi better. And now that I know Felix and Calder a bit better as well. It's just going to be the plot is then going to be how those personalities conflict, and how they go against the circumstances of the world. And that's the thing. So, and to tie that into the game, because ultimately it has to be congruent with the theme of the gameplay and what the gameplay is really about. And I think the games that get this wrong haven't thought about this. I think the games that get it wrong, they have the game, and then they have like a fan fiction in their head that they wanted to tell, and they think this is the game I happen to be doing right now. That's going to be the vessel for my fan fiction in my head. But it might not actually fit, right? Like it might actually completely deter from the purpose of the game. And I think that's kind of the thing people tend to not like, is when you've got a gameplay going on, and then you've got this story that doesn't really fit at all. Like it's like the story could have been used for another project. That's sort of the thing. And I think now that I've been working on this for a bit longer, I've had time to settle on what the core of the game experience is about, and whether a story could actually help that. And as far as that goes, there is, in terms of the gameplay loop, the game is very much, I think, not even really about platforming or parkour. It's more about, it's about the experience of like doing something and trying again and again and again until you get it right. Because that's the gameplay loop. You do the level, which I'll play through. You do the level, you play it kind of skillfully. You can play it better the more skill you get, and then you get a result at the end. And, you know, I think for a lot of people, they might not really dig that. That's fine. Like, there's a whole side to it of, because the thing that I get appeal from this is the fact that you get ranked and you want to play again to get a better result. That's how I like to do everything, and that's kind of what it's about. And the everything that, like the art style, the character, the mechanics, everything, it's all there to serve that purpose. It isn't just to be a platformer, but it's to be what a platformer means. It means to, like, not every platformer does this, but my game at least. The point of it is that you play it, and then you get to the end of you face a challenge, you see how you did, and you think, could I have done that better? And in this case, I clearly could have. I got a rank D. This sucks. Could I have done better? And then you try again. And this time you played a bit different. You know, you try different moves. You get more familiar with the mechanics of what you're doing. You learn how to pull off better tricks. You learn shortcuts. You learn what paths to avoid. Because that's kind of how I see life in general. I kind of treat it as a game of this, like a level of this. Like, accomplishing any task is basically that in my head, where I can do the task, and the point of it is to S-rank it, which is sort of how that's kind of how I treated the making of the model too. Like, that was I did her a few times. The first time I got a rank D, and I'm like, no, this sucks, I gotta do it again. Then the second time I got a rank B, and then I think this time I at least got a rank A, or maybe a rank S. But that's how I think. That's how I approach things in life. And I don't know, there's something I love about that really deeply that goes beyond video games. It's an attitude. And the attitude of I think that's why the game is going to be fun, because the attitude is there. It isn't just like oh, Mirror's Edge does this, I'll copy that. because I've tried to put serious thought into how does everything in the game contribute to that idea, to that attitude, right? And I think I can do something with her characters and the story that can also play on that idea. And I think that's how I know it's like that's worth trying. But if the story had nothing to do with those, then it would probably it would be one of those stories that kind of doesn't fit. And just from the game I was talking about earlier, I don't remember the name, but the white first person game with the guns that had the character story and anything in it. Just because I hadn't played the full game, I just seen YouTube clips of it, so maybe I could be wrong, but I didn't get a sense that the story and the gameplay had the same attitude to them. Like, it felt like one could have been its own thing and the other. That's just the vibe I got, but I could be wrong, because again, I haven't played it. So I could be completely wrong, but just from looking at it, it just didn't feel like it matched. It's like instruments, you know? There are instruments that go, and then there's instruments that don't go together. That's sort of how I see it. Ransom Wave. Do I have any advice on how to write a story for a game? I mean, look, because I'm just trying to figure it out myself. I could probably use advice. But I have spent a lot of time knowing what not to do and scrapping. I've had like maybe 13 scrapped versions that were all pretty bad. In terms of advice, I guess, I don't know, like, I don't really know about just structuring it on a doc or things like that. Like, I have my way of doing it that's probably not the best way, but I think the way you write it, I don't think even really matters. I think the story has to be true. Like, you have to understand the purpose of a story in the first place. I think just to answer your question, this is probably going to be a big answer, but I think just from what I observe in students mostly and like teenagers, because I was a teenager once, and the thing I observe a lot is that, you know, they get exposed to media and they want to make their own version, you know, just like me, but they only really go as deep as imitating. And they're like, oh, I like this. Oh, I want to do my thing of that and everything. And that's cool. That's a cool place to start, but it isn't the end. And I think a lot of people think that that's the end. And that's kind of what separates the Wattpad tier story from a good story, is I think the Wattpad tier stuff is like fan fiction and like imitation, but they're not thinking deeper about what is the story saying. And look, I'm no expert, I'm not an expert writer, but this is how I think about it personally, and I think there's merit to this way of thinking. I would recommend studying Joseph Campbell and his Hero with a Thousand Faces. It's a really good book. He knows way more than I do. And he as I started studying his stuff more, I came to realize that stories aren't just a fantasy. Like, that's part of it. It's meant to be an escape. But I've studied, like, just from the stuff I enjoy watching, I've noticed with age that it is an expression of reality. That's sort of what a good story will do. So recently, to give you an example, I was watching The Iron Giant for the first time. I know, I should have watched it like years ago, but I watched it for the first time the other week, and it was incredible. And I think at first you look at it and think, oh, it's a cool story about a big boy and a robot. But when I started watching it, because I'm not 5 anymore, and I start looking at it at the age I am now, and there's so much tapestry to it I can see that the casual viewer probably wouldn't pick up on. And I think the thing that makes the story so effective in The Iron Giant, for instance, just as an example, because I just had this recently happen to me, is that it looks like it's a story about a boy and a robot, but it works out really well because the robot really is more than a robot. It kind of represents a bigger idea. And because it's from an alien world, and it has a history that it doesn't remember, but it was like a killing machine robot from space, and it crash lands on Earth, and this young boy finds it, and he kind of nurses it back to health, and like it's like his best friend. And I think, because I haven't had a lot of time to think about it in depth, but the vibe I got from it is that the robot is sort of like a analog for for like culture or for what came before, you know what I mean? And I think the choice to have the protagonist as a young boy was genius in that regard, because that story wouldn't be as true if it was a different character. If it was like an old guy or something, it wouldn't work. But because it's a young, lonely boy who's looking for companionship or is looking for an identity, because he doesn't have a dad or anything, he's there with his mother working at the diner. And the robot comes along and it kind of gives him like a... I'm just trying to remember. Because he gives him a companion and he kind of finds... He has fun with the robot. And then the robot kind of finds a sense of humanity through the boy's innocence in a way. And I don't know, there's something deeply true about that I think happens all the time in real life. Where you've got like... You can think of the robot as culture or the world or something. And then every so often it has to be brought back down to innocence. It has to be rejuvenated by innocence in a way, because you know the world can get pretty scary out there, right? It can get pretty vile, and I think that's sort of because the robot comes from, you know, war in Mars or something, and I think that kind of process of, and they have that message. I'm remembering the scenes now. They have the message where the robot is like inherently violent because he has all these guns and everything. He's a killing machine, but it's his choice. And that message was so good. Like the thread of that whole movie they had going in, where the robot is like has the potential to be destructive, but the boy, through innocence, his innocence like redeems the robot, and he's like, hey, you don't have to, like they have the scene where he's got the comic books, and it's like, you don't have to be the bad guy, you could be Superman. And then the robot, like at the end of the movie, like internalizes that message, and he like makes the ultimate sacrifice and saves the whole town. And then, like, there's, I don't know, there's something really beautiful to that. And I could tell that I think it was Brad Pitt, what's the guy? Brad Bird. That was the director of that project. And Brad Bird's done a lot of great movies like that. He did The Incredibles as well. And if you want to, if you think you know The Incredibles, I would watch The Incredibles again, the first one. I watched it when I was a kid, but when I watched it as an adult, it hits so different, man. Because there's so much in there. It isn't just a story about superheroes, you know? It's there is a whole level of stuff going on. But anyway, I could rant for ages about that. But that's, I guess, to bring it back to the question, you want to get to the stage where you can see those things in the stories that you like, and then figure out, well, what do I have to say about it? And that's, I think, a better angle to take a story from than just following a template on like writer's advice, like going on a YouTube channel for like top 10 writing tips and just doing whatever the hell they do. Like, I feel like that isn't the right way to do it. It's, you gotta know what you want to say, and you have to really believe in it. That's what I think. Now, whether that will get you a good story, I don't know, because I'm trying to work it out for myself right now, but that's the attitude I'm taking, and I think it has merit. But I guess we'll find out, you know? I guess we'll find out if that's really true. But you know, all the great stories I've ever seen have that in them. They have that ingredient where beneath the flavor, beneath the aesthetic, beneath all of that, there is some truth. It's telling a story about the world that's relevant and true. And I think when that isn't true, people know. And those are the stories that flop and do badly. That's why a lot of, especially nowadays with like modern AAA games, a lot of people aren't liking the stories so much. Because a lot of them are, they're kind of leaning more into a political thing, which is fine. Like it's, but people don't feel it's authentic, I think. And it feels like they aren't telling the truth, but they're telling an ideology that they believe. And, you know, there's some audiences will agree and some won't. And it's, but that's, I'm not really too much into all that stuff. I don't really care too much about that, but I have to guess from an observer, that's what it looks like is happening. And I think people are really, there is a desperate need, I think, out there for stories that might not be like, you know, they might not be part of an ideology or something, but they have a truth to them, even if that truth is like, you know, uncomfortable to some people or whatever. I think there's a need for that people want. But it has to, but that truth, you have to earn it. You can't just, I think there's a key ingredient there with that truth of what your story is about, what you're telling, what you're saying. You have to not just copy it from somewhere, because you're not really telling it truthfully. It has to be like something that you think. And I don't know. That's just what I think. It can't just be imitate. You can't just take the plot from like, I don't know, a famous movie and just instead we'll just do Last of Us but in space. Like that, you got to, unless your truth happens to line up with that, it has to come from an authentic place. It has to come from within, not from copying something else that's outside, sort of thing. That's the main gist of it I'm trying to get at. Again, I'm not a professional writer or anything. I'm not the messiah. That's just kind of what I reckon. And you asked me, so that's what I think. But anyway, I already have a summary game design document, which I've seen lots of positive reactions to. Cool. Coming up with the nitty-gritty and specifics. I mean, I struggle with that as well. That is something I do struggle with too, actually. I was doing a bit of work this morning on that exact thing. Because I know the general key points. It's just how does it tie together? And I don't really know how to... I guess one thing I know that I'm doing that is not helping is maybe I think too much sometimes about it. And I think you have to be brave. You have to be willing to like improvise. And then like, I don't know, the way I've tried doing things at times is to fill in the details. Those, I'm not sure if those can come from things. Like the key points have to come from a deep place, but I think the details, you kind of have to sort of let loose, I think. That's what I want to try. And this is advice for me as well, by the way, because that's one thing I want to try doing more is, you know, having one foot in the serious and the considered and planned, and then having another foot in the playful improvisational area to fill in the more menial things. And then like just having the courage to just be random and then later ground it down. Because I know an issue that I definitely have is that I get way too critical too early over my things, and I'll shut things down too quickly. And I have to be like that with other areas, but I know that for writing, I have to kind of undo that a bit and ease it off. Because I know for everything else, like the art style and the character model and everything, that does help in that area, because being critical early helps you save time and avoid problems. But when creatively writing, it is more of a hindrance, I think. So you have to be like willing to write something that's embarrassing or weird. And like I deeply feel this is true because it's the scariest thing to do. And I think the scarier something is, the probably more likelihood it is that it's the right option in that scenario. That's what I think. But again, I'm not a professional like writer person. That's just what I reckon. I've written like casually. I've written like a few novellas here and there, just casually, not like published or anything. But I've practiced and I've written bad stories, so I think I know what not to do in that regard. But yeah, it's difficult on the soul. It takes a lot of attention, and you have to kind of go into the unknown and like not be afraid of things, which is difficult beyond just writing things down. Teddy like 3 says, I admire you for being able to explain these different things. I suck so much at explaining anything. Well, thank you. I mean, look, I don't know if I'm doing that great a job, but thanks. Like, because I've been trying to think if I don't know, I don't think I'm that good at explaining things, but I try. So if that made any sense to you, cool. Otherwise, I don't know, go watch Joseph Campbell. He probably does it. Or, I don't know, just go look up an actual writer. But thank you, though. I hope that made sense. And I don't know, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I have faith that that's the right call. And it's not a naive faith, but it is only faith. I don't have evidence for it. So it's just, keep that in mind. I haven't done like written 20 games or anything. I just suck at finding the right words. I think that's the biggest issue. Yeah, me too. I struggle with the same. You know, I'm not a very big people person, so I'm not the greatest at explaining things to people. But that's okay. You know, I think, I guess I'm really good when I have a script. It's better when I have a script, but otherwise, not really. What's this one? Okay, one last question, and then I really got to get going. What's your secret to getting an audience? I'm a dev myself, and I can't get people to watch my YouTube stuff. Honestly, I'm going to be 100% real. I have no freaking idea, man. I don't know why people are here, okay? I have no idea. I started making videos, and I like if you go back to my first ones, I'm like, oh, I'm working on this game, and here's a wall run mechanic and whatever. And then I just kind of kept doing that for a bit. And then all of these people showed up. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? And I don't like cool, but I don't know how the YouTube gods did it. I don't know. It wasn't me. I guess consistency probably helps, and this is something I am getting wrong all the time. I have a tendency to spend too long on my videos. So I know that's something I got to work on. I'd probably be doing a lot better if I was more consistent with my uploads. So I know that that's an ingredient. But apart from that, I honestly, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Ask Susan Wojcicki. She promoted my channel. Her algorithm, her website is how you guys are here. I don't know. I mean, ask the audience. Why the hell are you guys all here? That's the better question. Because I don't know what you guys do. Like, I don't know what you guys like to watch. Why are you guys watching me? That's how we get the real answer. See, because the audience knows. They'll know. I just make the videos. They're the ones that watch it. Straight to the source, yeah. I'm seeing if the audience is going to have any good answers. So the question to my audience is, why the hell are you watching my videos? Why? And then we'll tell that guy, and then he can. I hear because okay, I think we found our answer. Great answer from great name, by the way, who says I'm just here because yeah, there we go. So that's the secret. People just show up and they don't know why. Here because you're a fellow game dev and it's a cat girl. That's an interesting reason. I just like watching the game dev process. Cool. Well, I guess there you have it. I guess people just like watching it. Why? I have no earthly idea. I clicked new to you in the YouTube tab. Cool. So that's a Susan Wojcicki type answer, because Susan, she decides whether I'm on the new and trending tab. I don't get to decide that. I like Australian people. See, okay, there we go. We got an answer to your question. An authentic answer sourced straight. This is our market research, straight from the source. The key to getting a YouTube following is to be Australian. Look, that's what the people say. Okay, I'm no analytics expert. The people say they like Australians. So here's what you're gonna do. You're going to get yourself a VB long neck at 20 to 8 in the morning, and you're going to start making videos every day, 20 to 1 in the morning, with your VB long neck, and start making videos. That's what you do. That's how you... That's what you do, apparently. I like game deving. Okay, so it looks like a good part of it is just other people that do game dev that just enjoy listening to me ramble about it. Kaya says your takes are refreshing. Cool. I mean, look, that's very generous. I'd say they're probably unconventional, and a lot of them are probably wrong, but I'm just figuring it out. But refreshing is a better word. I like that word. Maybe I'll start using that. Thank you. When the Vegemite reveal. I'm sorry, because I'm only half Australian, so I actually have I don't like Vegemite. I'm only half. If I was full Australian though, different story. It's fun to watch. You and Ponty Pants are two of the few devs that don't entirely sugarcoat development. Interesting. I haven't heard of this guy. Ponty Pants. Oh, I've seen this game. The boxing game. I didn't know he was a YouTuber. Wow, okay. Well, maybe ask Ponty Pants. He's got way more subscribers than me. He'll probably tell you. I'm pretty consistent. I mean, I think I could do better. I could do better. Nice to see a dev that doesn't get burnt out and disappear. I'll be honest, man. It's tempting, though. I'm so tired all the time. You're just gonna be real. But, you know, part of the pressure is, I think if I didn't... Because, you know, there's that struggle. I think to put a different dimension on that question... And this will be the last question, and then I'm going to get back to work. But to put a spin on that question, to add another dimension to it... oh, who's Susan? That's the YouTube CEO, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. unless they've changed that, in which case I don't know who the current person is. But the trick, I think the tricky part is like it's actually really difficult to run a YouTube channel and make a game at the same time. Not gonna lie, it's because it's 2 jobs basically. It's really difficult. And on the one hand, I've seen the angle that game devs shouldn't do devlogs because it's a waste of time and they could just be working on the game. And there's merit to that argument. But on the other hand, if I didn't do my devlog, I would have burnt and quit. Like, that's literally... Like, how did you word it just then? It was like, does it get burnt out and disappear? If I didn't have that accountability there, and I didn't have people that were expecting something, then that would have happened, I think. So I think there's merit to that. Yes, running the YouTube channel is like being game dev on hard mode, and it costs time to be consistent with it, and it's stressful, but there are benefits insofar as you have, you're probably more likely to have the game at least sell because people know about it. And you also get, I'm trying to think of how to word it. You get, how do I word this? See, I'm not great at explaining things either. But you get like, there's an accountability there where it's stressful, but you do get the sense that I can't let down the people. But if people don't know about you, then that pressure isn't there and there's no consequences to giving up. But if I give up now, which I easily could do, because I mean, hell, it's like easier to just not do it. But I know I would let down everybody. So it's like, if I do that, my reputation's destroyed. Do I want to do that? And it's like, well, maybe try harder and see if you can go just a bit more without doing that. And it's like, all right. So that's kind of how that's kind of the benefit, is that it adds pressure. Is the pressure always nice? No. But I would rather have it there than not. That's sort of what I think. Teddy says, that's why I like to stay low profile. But then again, where's the audience? I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Because on the one hand, like, there are other devs I've seen that have had the extreme hard mode of that happen, where they have the video, they have their channel in the game, but then the channel like blows up, and the incentive structure shifts dramatically to reward YouTube more than the game, which is not the developer's fault, because that's what the audience wants. It's not really anyone's fault. It's just the incentive structure. It's just how it works. And there's a thing I've seen happen. I've seen this pattern happen a few times where it's like the dev will blow up too quickly, and then the game gets overwhelming demand, but the game is like not finished. I mean, that's probably going to happen to me at some point, if not already, right? Like the last video I just uploaded, like that got like 100,000 views in a day, which is insane. Like what? So that actually that scares me when that happens, because I don't want to blow up, because that's so much pressure. But I also, that there is you can transmute that into a good thing, but you just got to hope that the people are going to be like the right people, that they're going to be patient, and they're not going to, just because your video blows up, it doesn't automatically mean that the game's ready, sort of thing. So that's like that's a game that's all happening there. And it's like, it's hard to play both of them, but I'm glad I chose this, and I'm okay with that. There are alternatives that I would not prefer, like the traditional way of doing it. That's not really my style. So you kind of have to, at some point, pick a poison, where it's like, what do you want to deal with? Do you want to deal with a boss telling you everything, working at a company? Do you want to deal with a YouTube audience, or do you want to deal with some other thing? And it's like, you got to make the choice of what you want. And there's no right option. It's just, Isoto says having a large audience is a safety net. I mean, to a degree, yes, but also it doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to buy it. So that's it looks like you're a big channel too. I don't know, maybe this guy knows. But I think there is a degree to which, because I've been cautious about this, you don't want to over assume and overestimate how well your game will do just because you have subscribers. That's something I'm very careful about. So on the one hand, I think for other people's point of view, it looks like, oh, he could just rush and finish it now and it would sell. And it's like, yeah, maybe it would, but But it could suck as well. So it's like I don't just want to rely on that safety net only. I want to pretend as if it isn't there, because I think if I do, then it'll be better. But it'll be more stressful. But it means that I'm not relying just on that, because I know that from what people tend to say, it's usually only like 1% of people will usually end up actually buying the game. So yeah, I try not to treat it too much as a net, but it is nice to have. At least I know it'll reach some people. But but to answer the original question on how to, I guess the more important question maybe to consider is, instead of how to grow an audience, is why to grow an audience. I think that's probably the thing you should be asking to answer the original question. I think, because I think even if you figure out how to do it and you find the YouTube Shorts glitch or whatever and you blow up, I've seen this happen to people where they can't handle it because they didn't think about why. They just went, oh, I want the big number, but they have no idea what that means and they don't know how to handle it. And I think it's good to know why. It's like, why am I telling anyone about this? And I think just getting attention is not a good enough reason, because attention is dangerous. And I think there has to be a balance of, like, you want to provide some kind of value with what you're doing, and there's got to be a reason for it for you as well. So for me personally, there's the accountability, and there's also like, it makes me less crazy that I have people to just share things with, and just for my own sanity, that's beneficial. So that's part of the reason. And then I also think that the videos themselves, I think, are valuable, hopefully. But if I want to grow the channel, if that's your motivation, where I just want to grow it for the number, it's that's a low quality reason. And if you do get it to work for a low quality reason, you'll get a low quality outcome, and you'll pay for it. I've seen it happen. So that's why for me, I don't want to blow up. It's scary, but I want to grow slowly. I like growing slowly. That's what I like. Jinju says, just being observant and objective here. The anime cat girl may have something to do with it. Really? I mean, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I'm not, like, that's the thing, because I'm not really too big into the whole scene, if that's I don't know. Because the media I enjoy, like I was just saying earlier, that I was watching the Iron Giant. Like, I'm not really into anime culture that much. I just think the art style is really cool. I just love the sharp lines and the angular shapes and everything. But I don't know, maybe that's a cool bonus. That'll be cool. People also like that. The trick is, though, is that I want to make Gabi more appealing to just those people. You know what I mean? Because, like, if that's why you're here, that's cool. I've no, like, that's not me personally. But if that's you, that's great. That's awesome. But my thing is, like, can I get people that aren't really into that as much, like I am, to also be into it? Because for me, it's just, I think, like, the aesthetic is really cool. You know, the design of, like, getting to do designs that are more creative than just humanoids. Like, that's, as a kid, I've always loved that. Like, I grew up playing, like, Ratchet and Clank and all that. So characters with big pointy ears and stuff, because it looks cool, right? I just like that. So I want to make Gabi into sort of like the anime cat girl made by the guy that isn't really that into the anime cat girl, because I know there's a whole subculture to it that I don't really understand, but I know it's there. And it's like, could I make her, like, also have an appeal factor beyond just the aesthetic, but also have, like, someone like me that isn't really as into it would also be on board? That's sort of, but that's tricky. I don't know if I'm actually going to end up pulling that off successfully, but we'll find out. I think her having more to her character, like her acrobatics, is going to help. And but yeah, but there's, you know, I guess, well, as we've seen, to look at that question in totality, it looks like there's a lot of reasons people come to watch videos. Some people like hearing schizophrenic rambling. That's cool. Some people are just interested in game dev. Some people like cat girls. So I guess there you go to the original, to answer the original ransom wave. There's heaps of market research there for you. So basically, just make an anime cat girl game. I don't know. Maybe that'd be so funny if that was the only reason. That'd be so funny. Free data, there you go. Oh yeah, hold on real quick, guys. Let me copy paste all your messages and sell it to an advertising company real quick. And be Australian, of course. Yep. Basically, just be me, guys. I don't like. It's not that hard. Anyway, it is getting on 10:30 here. I've gone a little over, but I got to get back to the grind. I used to do stream live, but I can't concentrate, so I like to just do my little show and tell on stream, and then I like to just work in private. That's how I like to do things. So if you enjoyed hearing about sort of what's happening, consider like becoming a patron or a member to support these streams. And if you looked at me and were like, man, what's that shirt that guy's wearing? That's really cool. You can buy this on my merch store, link down below. I got a nice, cool Y2K font going on. So if you like that font, it doesn't even matter what the logo is, honestly. If I didn't know what this was, I'd buy it for the font because it's just so cool. So check that out, link down below. Thanks for joining me for another dev stream. I'll be back next week with some more progress to show. Hopefully I would have made some more headway with the video by then, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to be working on that video. That's going to be my main focus, and then just seeing what other bits of the demo I can improve. But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for joining. Thanks for the support on the video. I'll see you next week.